I don't know anything about baby blood.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is March 19th, 2021. This is episode 313. And today, Mean Joe Greenscreen? That's right. And I didn't miss garbage pickup day for the third week in a row, but I am your best buddy, Basil.
And I have no good comeback for that intro there, Trash Man. Basil.
That's what they call me.
Yep. But my name is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we praise Jesus while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And we are operational. Let's just say that.
Operational, minimally viable product today. Thanks for everybody who's tuning in. I know we missed Wednesday's show. We promise you that it was for good reason. Gonz, I did the math later, and of course you were working on it hours before I was, but I spent 5 hours on Wednesday sitting here trying to fix the problem, and you had at least a couple hours longer than me. So yeah, we spent the whole day trying to troubleshoot our technical problems. We were unable to fix them with the resources we had on Wednesday. But I think we're there. We're at 95% of our normal operating technology. Is that a fair assessment?
95 is a bit high. I would say we're operating on a more of a maybe 70.
Oh, that's a bit low.
No,
we're only missing a couple little elements, and the listener hopefully would not notice.
Well, if you have a keen ear, you might tell that the live sounds a little different, and if you're listening on RSS, it probably sounds a little bit different too. Just tonally. Because of the situation, we have new gear and stuff like that.
Yeah, new gear. And we're having to retune everything. You know, we did pretty good for, I don't know if we missed a show since the pandemic started. Do you recall if we've missed a show? Maybe one.
I think we took a week off or something at some point.
Oh, baby week.
Yeah, baby week happened.
There was baby week. You're right. Yeah, okay. So, but this was the first catastrophic event in a while. So that was nice. But we're back up and running, and we got a great show. And we want to thank some producers who helped out a lot with making it get up and running again. We'll do that in the break later on in the show. But yeah, what do you think, Gonz? Anything you want to talk about before we get into the meat?
Just a PSA: don't upgrade to Big Sur.
Oh yeah,
if you're using Mac
users
OS
out there
and you have peripheral devices, Big Sur is a big poop. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. One interesting thing I'm seeing in the chat that the only quality level options are 720 or auto. Is that something on our side?
We've never streamed higher than 720p resolution wise. So
yeah, it looks like they can't go lower either though.
Oh.
Yeah. Well,
that's a YouTube thing.
More settings for us to fine tune as we get everything working here.
I didn't know it broke things on YouTube's end either.
Yeah, we're going to probably have to go through the whole thing. Well, sounds like more fun work, Gonz.
Yeah.
But I think anyways, I guess I do want to remind everybody, if you're watching on YouTube or a platform that allows this to happen, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe and all that fun stuff.
Like, subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
Jingles,
that's right.
Jingles might be a little hot if you're watching or listening live. So
that's a possibility.
That's something that's hard to control.
Well, on the positive side, Gonz, the show will only get better from here. But yes, getting those likes and subscribes in the first 5 or 10 minutes of the show is very important to trick the algorithms into letting other people watch the show, which is those algos, they're really trying to rule our lives. But with your help, we can trick them. I'm trying to think. Did we have anything to talk about before we started the show? I don't think so.
Other than just a quick thing to mention, Monday, the 15th of March, was our 9-year anniversary of Canary Cry Radio.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's 9 years of episodes, folks. You're welcome.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, too, I think when was the first live broadcast? When was like the first time we switched to our new format?
Sometime in March, but in terms of this format and like broadcasting the podcast on the Face Like the Sun channel, that was probably sometime in March, maybe April at the latest. But in terms of, I think we did do a couple live streams before that, because you had the luchador mask phase, and we did some stuff before.
Yeah. I'm kind of talking about our long 3-hour news talk thing.
I'd have to go back and look.
I wonder if that evolved slowly. I don't even remember. 2020 is just gone. I don't remember a thing. So I think we should start the show. What do you think?
Yeah, we can. I was watching, I think his name is Nick Bargatze or something, and he had mentioned how 2020 was so crazy that they announced UFOs and people were like, yeah, okay. And just carried on with their day.
Yeah.
Which is true. That did happen. But okay, yeah. You ready for a Flippy update?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, folks. For those who may be new to the show, apologies, but also let me tell you about Flippy. Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new and exciting ways that robots and AI are taking over the world, and there's nothing we can do about it. A couple episodes ago, so feels like a lifetime ago now, we talked about the NYPD deploying a Spot robot. If you're new to these types of things, Spot is the Boston Dynamics robot that looks like a dog and can be equipped with all sorts of fun utensils, trinkets. And the article will talk about the rest here. This is coming from Wired.com. The headline is, a New York lawmaker wants to ban police use of armed robots. Oh, what a novel concept.
Just armed ones? What about just in general?
Yeah, this is
robots.
Well, let's learn. Council member Ben Kalos says he watched in horror last month when city police responded to a hostage situation in the Bronx using Boston Dynamics' DigiDog, a remotely operated robot dog equipped with surveillance cameras. Pictures of the DigiDog went viral on Twitter, in part due to the uncanny resemblance with world-ending machines in the Netflix sci-fi series Black Mirror. Now, Kalos is proposing that what may be the nation's first law banning police from owning or operating robots armed with weapons. Quote, I don't think anyone was anticipating that they'd actually be used by the NYPD right now, Kalos says. Quote, I have no problem with using a robot to defuse a bomb, but it has to be the right use of a tool and the right type of circumstance. Kalos's bill would not ban unarmed utility robots like the DigiDog, only weaponized robots. But robotics experts and ethicists say he has tapped into concerns about the increasing militarization of the police. Their increasing access to sophisticated robots through private vendors and a controversial military equipment pipeline. Police in Massachusetts and Hawaii are testing the DigiDog as well. Quote, non-lethal robots could very well morph into lethal ones. That's what I've been saying, says Patrick Lynn, director of Ethics and Emerging Sciences Group at California Polytechnic University, San Luis Obispo. Lynn briefed CIA employees on autonomous weapons during the Obama administration and supports a ban on armed robots. He worries their increased availability poses a serious concern. Quote, robots can save police lives, and that's a good thing, he says, but we also need to be careful it doesn't make a police force more violent. In the Bronx incident last month, police used the DigiDog to gather intel on the house where the two men were holding two others hostage, scoping out hiding places and tight corners. Police ultimately apprehended the suspects, but privacy advocates raised concerns about the technical capabilities of the robot and policies governing its use. Do you remember the details on that hostage situation? They failed to mention what I believe was a detail of that the hostages like saw the dog and got freaked out and just gave themselves up.
Right.
Did I make that up?
Something like that, yeah.
It was something like that, yeah. The ACLU questioned why the DigiDog was not listed on the police department's disclosure of surveillance devices under a city law passed last year. The robot was only mentioned in passing in a section on situational awareness cameras. The ACLU called that disclosure highly inadequate. I think that's a correct description, criticizing the weak data protection and training sections regarding DigiDog. In a statement, the NYPD said it has been using robots since the 1970s to save lives in hostage situations and hazmat incidents. This model of robot is being tested to evaluate its capabilities against other models in use by our emergency service unit and bomb squad. In a statement, Boston Dynamics CEO Robert Plater said the company's terms of service prohibit attaching weapons to its robots. Quote,
we've
all
talked
of our
about
buyers
this multiple times.
We did. They are very insulted by the very suggestion that somebody could misuse their robots. Quote, all of our buyers without exception must agree that Spot will not be used as a weapon or configured to hold a weapon. Plater said, as an industry, we think robots will achieve long-term commercial viability only if people see robots as helpful, beneficial tools without worrying if they're going to cause harm. Then it's a very long article, talks about local responses and things, which are as to be expected. But I thought this was very interesting, Gons. We needed an update on this police robot dog. Of course, the police are playing down the risks and possibilities. And of course, you know, the crazy people online like myself are playing up the potential harm that this can cause. But it sounds like this, what's this guy's name? Ben Kalos. I think he might listen to the show. He's all on board. He knows that this is a bad idea. And it is weird. The weird thing about this is that laws don't already exist not to weaponize robots. I mean, we're in this weird interstitial period where robots can or cannot be armed, but there's technically no law against arming the robots. And Ben Kalos is trying to change that.
Yeah, it's. I think interestingly, it's only the ethicists and people like us, the crazy people online, who have been discussing these types of situations. I think putting weapons on these machines is one thing that clearly I think most people can get on board with. Mm-hmm. But what do you do if they fall on you, or if they're behind you? You remember that game when you used to, like, you know, Mean Kids in elementary school? They would, like, one kid would kneel
like
behind you.
Like a doggy pile thing.
Yeah, one kid would kneel behind you, another kid would push you, and then you fall over.
Oh, I like how you call that a game. I think technically that's just called bullying, Gons.
Oh, okay. I grew up in a different generation.
That fun game. I think we know which side of the bullying that you were on, if you're calling that a game. Other people call that trauma.
Anyway, so yeah, that kind of thing where it just trips people up, or I don't know.
Yeah,
what kind of liabilities does it have, you know? So
yeah, I mean, that is certainly a rational topic of conversation. But no, Gons, we're talking about robot dogs with rocket launchers right now.
By the way, it's exactly a year. March 18th was our first live Canary Cry, Corona Cry radio quarantine stream.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miss G Beauty in the chat, for bringing that to our attention. So yeah, technically, today is our 1 year anniversary of our long format Canary Cry News Talk.
Kind of. It's the 19th, right?
Yeah, well, it was yesterday, but we don't do a show on Thursday.
Oh, true. Okay.
Yeah. So we did it. We actually didn't fail at celebrating an anniversary. Man, and if we would have thought of it beforehand, though, we could have done a special producer thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do one right now.
We had 18,000 views on that live stream. And
on that first live stream.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just gone downhill since then. Well, there was a little bit there in the March, April, about 25,000 or so.
Well, the algos, when you first do something big and new, they push it out because they're like, ooh, it's something big and new. I mean, nobody gets the notifications anymore.
I know.
I mean, I think about 1% of people who want notifications get the notifications.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
Thanks,
so
YouTube.
I don't know. Let's think about this real quick, because we have about an hour until we thank the producers. We can make a little special producer thing. What is it? It's been a year. It's 2020.
365 Bitcoin.
There you go.
Special tier.
I'm trying to think of a reasonable number. I don't know.
52
producers,
weeks.
You make it up. If you want to come in for a special 1 year producership, get creative with the numbers. And you can do that by heading over to canarycryradio.com/support.
Oh, you got me all.
canarycryradio.com/support. I know you were commenting on how I sprung that on you.
Yes.
But it actually was kind of cool. Like, oh, you got me all. Canary Cry Radio.
Yeah.
It was good. It was like it should have been on the Grammys or something.
Oh, yay. Me and Cuomo. Me and Digi Cuomo can stand there with our trophies.
You know what? I was a little disappointed they didn't mention Digi Cuomo on that Spot the Robot Dog story we just did.
Well,
but I'll just mention it now. Digi Cuomo is the name of that police robot dog.
Yeah. Okay. Well, are you done with that one?
I'm done. Your turn.
My turn. We're going to get into some politic here.
Poly. It's Latin for many. Tick. Now suck your blood. Now politics. Your blood.
Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about in terms of Joe Biden in recent days. This is a MSN.com relay of Mashable. Conspiracy theorists think Joe Biden used a green screen to fake a recent appearance. Parentheses, he did not.
A likely story.
Yes. It says here, did President Joe Biden really speak with reporters on the South Lawn of the White House on Tuesday, or was he digitally added with the use of a green screen? The answer, of course, is that Joe Biden was actually physically on the South Lawn yesterday speaking to reporters, but online conspiracy theorists don't believe that. Misinformation spread all over social media from Reddit users to celebrities on Twitter that President Biden actually used a green screen with a CGI'd and was CGI'd into the video to appear as if he was outside the White House with reporters. Why would Biden do this? Some conspiracy theorists believe he's too sick to appear in public and that he's already dead and a body double is being used, which like even that logic, like if a body double was being used, why would you need if you're going that far? Well, that's just real quick, just to point out, this is what they love to do with conspiracy theorists is take a simple thing like, oh, those microphones look green screened, and then present the most outrageous version of what, is being talked about on the internet. That's not it. Others continue to think that Biden is not actually the president. And then there's a parentheses, see the Trump inauguration conspiracies. Oh, good. Yeah, they just had to sneak that right in there real quick. So, of course, he wouldn't actually be at the White House. All of this misinformation stems from a video with an admittedly weird-looking moment that shows Joe Biden's hand briefly passing over boom microphones that look to be stationed in front of him. And if you haven't seen the video, we have a I've got a whole bunch of different angles of it and whatnot, and I've analyzed it quite a bit, and I'm back and forth on it. I at first I was like, I'll say this: the artifact, whatever the HD, AVC, whatever, the artifact of his hand, it looks chroma keyed. Okay, not necessarily
it does
green
look
screen,
that way, yes.
but it looks chroma keyed. So here's I think this is the Bloomberg Quick Take Now video for those of you listening. You'll just kind of hear Biden walking around. For whatever reason, this clip that Bloomberg shared is like a mini TikTok version. It's really short. It's Biden. He's walking towards the camera on the lawn, and he's got his mask on. I'll just play the clip here so you guys get a moment. Mm-hmm. He's walking up. You see the microphone's bobbing. Not at the moment. And he does this little finger jab thing. Now I think I do hear his hand hit one of the microphones.
Play it again.
I just noticed it. Hold on. It could be the wind.
Not at the moment.
So the thing in question here is when he does the little hand motion, when he does a little finger jab, when he says not at the moment, he like points to the ground, and there's a big fuzzy gray microphone, boom microphone behind his hand. And that's what looks green screen. And so for those of you just listening, it's Biden. I'm sure you've seen this clip. He's talking, whatever. And then there's little boom mics held with sticks because of the social distancing or whatever that are held up to him. And his hand passes over one of the fuzzy mics, and it just looks chroma keyed. I don't know what else to tell you. It looks weird.
In the main footage that is presented, it has a lot of the classic hallmarks of a chroma keyed piece of footage, which is so weird. Again, you think back even to I don't even think it's a conspiracy theory. It's just a theory online, which is that he's CGI'd or it's a green screen. There's a lot of issues with all of that. They're too boring to really go too deep on a live show now. But for those who have worked with green screens and done that sort of thing, there's a lot of really interesting parts of this video that are extremely suspect. The contrast between his hand and the microphone, the lighting looks different. A lot of that can be explained by the weird little fact, and this is, so it's the microphone has a windscreen on it. They go by many names, but it's that big poofy gray thing, and it's very furry. They're very cuddly if anybody's, worked with one up close. But the difference, the contrast and lighting between his hand and the microphone is very abrupt and immediately throws your brain off. Now, these windscreens are specifically designed to kind of trick the laws of physics in a lot of ways. It's meant to make it so you don't hear wind, and they're super fuzzy so they don't stick out in case they get caught in a shot or something. It's a really weird piece of equipment. It's very simple, but they're specifically designed to for very special uses. So I don't know. Again, why, if they were going to fake something and use green screen and things like that, why in the world would they do it in this weird setting? Why not do it better or cooler? And the really weird thing that is more confusing than anything, admittedly, it looks fake, but also just the way layering would work. For those who, again, this is getting into the boring part, but those who would compose this type of illusion, you would have to do this on purpose, because one hand is behind the mic, one hand is in front of the mic. Somebody would have to purposefully make it look this way. And then, maybe they did it just to mess with people and further force people to categorize themselves as alternate thinkers, purposefully sort of troll everybody. But I don't know. You had a bunch of other stuff though, so I don't want to take too much of them.
Let me cover a few things. People were saying, or at least in the chat, I saw one person ask, what is chroma key? And chroma key is it's just a filter that's used whenever you use a green screen.
It's the official technical name for green screen. Right. So when you say, a lot of people just say green screen, which is sort of like I don't know what normal people call it. Technically, it doesn't have to be green. It could be any blue, number, any color. I'm confusing numbers and colors now. It could be blue, could be red, could be pastel pink, could be anything. So chroma key is like the technical term for green screen.
Right. And then a lot of people pointed out the top of Joe's head. He's got the white hair. It gets lost in the background color. Blown
out. Yeah.
And
which will happen on a cloudy day.
Right. That's a typical thing that happens with video. If there's a washout, that's not unusual. A lot of people were pointing that out. So again, but it's the hand. It's really the hand. And those of you watching, you can see that weird outline. It's very strange. Now, of course, the mainstream came out and they jumped all over this. And like I was reading in that article, they're saying, oh, these crazy people, what are they thinking? And, there's a fuller clip here from AP that shows the full sort of walk where he walks out of the White House and he's kind of stumbling along. He's trying to look as official as possible. I'm going to skip through this. Mm-hmm. He's walking down the street here. And of course, the AP video that's shared is 360p, which is a very low resolution. I don't know why. They have higher resolution footage. Mm-hmm. So kind of weird. And this is a different angle that the AP shows. And of course, they edit to that point right before. There's an edit in the AP version where it goes from the side view to the front view. But then there is also the side view, the full side view version, which shows the fuzzy mic at the bottom of the screen kind of pop into scene.
Yeah.
And so it's there, but I don't know how close it is, but it looks like it's pretty far away.
Yeah. Well, this is one reason why, I'm not really sold on the CGI thing for a lot of reasons. I don't think it's
CGI, but I just think
chroma key is technically CGI as well.
Okay.
But the reason, and you got a lot more to go through, so I don't know. I don't know if I want to blow my cover quite yet. I don't think it's a green screen or a chroma key or CGI. There's a lot of angles that do show all the mics, but there is a weird thing. And this is still weird, and it's still very Biden, which is, these boom mics, they're used so you can capture audio from long ways away, from 6 feet or more, is kind of part of the benefit of Corona times. And the thing is, when those are around you, you don't have to yell. You don't have to get close to somebody's face. You don't have to do anything. What Biden is doing here is being an old man. He's an old man and he's walking up and he's asked a question. And what he's doing is leaning forward past the microphones to try to yell an answer at a reporter, when he doesn't need to do that. He just needs to stand there and speak regular. But he's leaning past the microphones, which is part of why the audio is not great. And, he's just an old man who's not really thinking about it. And he's leaning past the microphones with his hands past one of the microphones. And I don't know. It's
part of the reason why he sounds muffled and stuff is because he's wearing a muzzle mask.
Yes, of course.
Too. So, again, a lot of this, I did a comparison type of deal where I put the two angles side by side. Uh-huh. And, the fuzzy mic does enter the scene at the same time. But again, it's just like, I don't know. The angles are still very weird. It doesn't make sense to me. Even if the angles are like, okay, this is from the left side of Biden, the other one's from the right side of Biden. You see the fuzzy mic clearly make the same motion in the footage, so it's there, but it still just looks very
weird.
It's weird. I've never seen footage that looks like it was chroma keyed without being chroma keyed.
Right. Yeah, it is very strange. But I think, it's a combination of the weird cloudy day lighting, him being an old man trying to lean past the microphones, and just the weird angle. But I will say this. Where did this footage originally air? Was this a live thing on air? What was this? Because it's so bad.
Yeah.
Like you can't hear anything. It's not a good shot. They're trying to ask about the border. You can barely hear it. I mean, it's not broadcast quality. You wouldn't want to put this on the news. Where did this even pop up? And that's the suspicious thing, is like, it is obviously a horrible clip that has no value in a regular news segment. And it's got this weird trolley effect that we're all experiencing. It seems like it's purposefully put out, again, to make, the alternative thinkers identify themselves. And it's just another reason for news outlets to talk about crazy conspiracy theorists and their Biden is a robot theory.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the official guy who was holding the mic did come out and say, "Oh, that was me. I was holding the mic," and people, talking about Biden isn't real and whatever. Yeah. So, I don't know. I just think it's weird footage. Like you said, it's not broadcast quality. The other things people were saying was, the chopper, they added the chopper noise, even though the blades weren't running. Well, you can debug. I mean, they have auxiliary mode where they're getting the engine revved.
The engine can run without having the rotors engaged. Yeah. So that's nothing.
But the thing is, truly, this is, even this article says, admittedly weird, admittedly strange looking, or whatever. It's admittedly weird looking moment. I mean, okay. If they're going to admit the mainstream Mashable, if Mashable is going to admit that it's weird looking, is it not okay for people to be like, hey, that's weird looking. It looks green screened. Why is it that, just because people are pointing it out, they're QAnon, Trump is still a president. Biden's completely CGI'd. I mean, you don't have to go there, but
that is the hilarious part about the response, which is all these articles and tweeters and people who are, within the hive mind being like, it's totally normal. Listen to all these crazy people complaining about it. I don't see anything wrong with this clip, which is like, obviously, yes, you do. If you don't see that it looks weird, you're just lying. Like, you're lying or you're a robot. There's no in between. It's obviously a weird clip. And to deny that, you're obviously just, some hive mind worker drone.
There was a guy also that did a debunking by recreating the shot, and he couldn't do it. Like, he claimed he recreated it, but I was looking at it and I'm like, no, that's not a recreation, because clearly, again, the distance of the mic is just way too off.
Yeah. For him it's also part of this, don't believe anything you see. Don't believe your own eyes.
Right.
Which is all tied into the COVID responses. It's tied into everything, which is you see something, but don't believe it. You cannot trust your own eyes, which is what they blame Trump of creating that logic with people, but they're doing it themselves, which is like, you see that something is weird, and to question it means that you are a crazy conspiracy theorist and whatever.
Well, one thing that didn't trick my eyes, and many of your eyes probably, was Biden going up the staircase into Air Force One. Mm-hmm. He's moving up. He's swiftly going up there. Oh, little trip. And then, double trip. And oh, no, he's falling over. And then he rubs his knee. And then he makes his way to the top.
You know what? I'll give him credit. He's the only president. Look, people have made compilations of pretty much every president in the past 50 years tripping on the stairs going up to Air Force One. He's the only president I've seen fall up the stairs, which is very impressive. Yeah, so maybe that, who knows? Maybe he is a droid of some kind.
burp, burp, burp,
He defies the laws of physics.
Yeah. But people are sharing this clip as a consolation prize to the green screen. You know, oh, fine, the green screen thing may not be real, but look at him try to get up these stairs. Spare the old man.
You know, that's the wonderful thing about Biden. You know, with Trump, he always said something that could be spun into a daily news story. With Biden, he's always doing some old man thing that can be spun into a news story.
Did Trump ever trip up the stairs?
Of Air Force One?
Yeah.
Well, he had the toilet paper incident.
What was the toilet paper incident?
Remember he was going up Air Force One and he had toilet paper on his shoe?
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know if he's ever tripped, but I do. That one does stick out in my mind. So,
the tripping one looks bad. I don't know if he's rubbing his knee or fixing his sock or something, but there he goes. All right.
Well, there you go. Again, it's elder abuse. He's just an old man, guys. It's okay.
I know.
He's an old man. He's going to do old man stuff. Don't let it distract from the real stuff. And I think the microphone thing is an old man too. That's my hot take.
You think this is just an old man artifact?
It's just Biden being an old man leaning past microphones that he shouldn't be leaning past.
I'm still very weirded out by even the different angles. It does not make sense. Even I don't know. It's very weird. It's hard to conclude that, that it was green screen or it was CGI. To me, like when I first saw it, just this angle, and I think I tweeted out like this is 1000% green screen, and I meant it. I totally meant it because the artifact of this component of his hand. I mean, that's what chroma key looks like. I don't know if you noticed.
No, it's true. It's technically resembles a chroma key green screen type thing, almost precisely.
Yeah. So anyway, that's something to just keep in mind. I'm sure it's, I saw my Facebook post on it. There's a big like fake, whatever, not fake news, but what is this? False information or something. Yeah, I got a false information mark on my thing.
Oh, so good. They got you.
Yeah, they got me.
A funny thing with this Biden walking up the stairs, I got this from the chat. I forgot who said it, but it's very reminiscent of a Boston Dynamics training video for a robot, where they have to like learn to walk up the stairs by trial and error. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe Biden is a robot.
I think we're more in the error stage than the trial stage.
All right. Well, I got some other politics to talk about if you're ready.
Sure.
Okay. This one was very interesting, and you can categorize this in the folder of sort of meta narrative building.
Okay.
So this is coming from CNN.
Oh, you're going to do
Keep
this
that
one.
in mind.
You know what? Let me do the Putin thing first because it's Biden related.
Okay.
Real quick. This is Yahoo.News. The headline, Putin on Biden killer remark takes one to no one. And it says here, Vladimir Putin was speaking on television after Biden in a U.S. network news interview that prompted Russia to call its Washington ambassador for consultations on Wednesday as, quote, I do, when asked if he believed the Russian president was a killer. Quote, I remember my childhood when we argued in the courtyard, we used to say, it takes one to know one. And that's not a coincidence, not just a children's saying or joke. Putin said, as Biden said, we know each other personally. What would I repay to him? I would say, I wish you health. I wish you health. I say that without any irony or joke, he added. That's a tough translation there. Biden also described Putin as having no soul and said he would pay a price for alleged Russian meddling in the November 2020 U.S. presidential election, something the Kremlin denies. Russia has dismissed that as unacceptable interference in its domestic affairs. The U.S. has said it is preparing new sanctions against Russia, yada, 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 Russia bad. But, Putin striking back after Biden says he is a killer.
Yeah, called him a killer, which is pretty gnarly. But I love the takes one to know one.
Yeah.
Dang
well,
it. Man, Putin is just quick.
He's still kind of, quick on his feet. Biden, he was just asked, is Putin a killer? Yeah, he's a killer.
Which, of course, he is. We all know that, but is such a strange question to ask the president. Like, what other president has been asked? Hey, the president of Germany are they a killer? Yeah. Okay. What about president of China? He a killer? Yeah. Like, what a strange question.
Well, it's leading the witness type of thing, because he said, "I do." Do you think Putin is a killer? I do. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird.
Which is hilarious coming from the guy who just dropped bombs on Syria.
Right. You're not a killer, Biden?
Excuse me.
Takes one to know one.
World leaders of a certain degree are killers.
Yes.
Okay. So, excuse me. All right. Ready for CNN?
CNN.
Sounds good. This is coming from CNN Politics. Keep that in mind, because this was very strange to read coming from CNN. The headline: a year into the pandemic, Florida is booming and Republican Governor DeSantis is taking credit. Of course, he's taking credit. Imagine that, a governor of a state taking credit for his state's response to things. After a year of criticism by health experts, mockery from comedians, and blistering critiques from political rivals, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is standing unabashedly tall among the nation's governors on the front lines of the coronavirus fight. Quote, everyone told me I was wrong, DeSantis, a Republican, said in a fundraising appeal on Tuesday, drawing attention to his defiance against the pandemic. Quote, I faced continued pressure from radical Democrats and the liberal media, which is CNN, but I refuse to back down. It's clear Florida got it right. As many parts of the country embark on an uneasy march toward normalcy, Florida is not only back in business, it's been in business for the better part of the past year. DeSantis's gamble to take a laissez-faire approach appears to be paying off, at least politically. At least for now, as other governors capturing attention in the opening phase of the pandemic now face steeper challenges. Despite far fewer rules and restrictions, Florida lands nearly in the middle of all states on a variety of coronavirus metrics. The state has had about 3% more COVID cases per capita than the U.S. overall, but about 8% fewer deaths per capita. More than 32,000 Floridians have died of COVID-19, and the state's per capita death rate ranks 24th in the nation. So right smack dab in the middle. Quote, those lockdowns have not worked. They've done great damage to our country, DeSantis said Tuesday. Whoa, lost complete control, said Tuesday at a news conference in Tallahassee. Quote, we can never let something like this happen again. Florida took a different path and we had more success as a result. DeSantis, who at 42 is the nation's youngest governor, is standing out amongst his peers and seizing upon what he and his supporters believe is a vindication for their policies. Lockdowns and school openings are suddenly a new measure for voters to hold governors and other elected officials accountable, a sign that the politics of the pandemic could open an uncertain chapter for many holding public office. He will be among the governors putting his record to the test when he runs for re-election next year. Quote, we still have millions of kids across this country who are denied access to in-person education, DeSantis said at the news conference. Quote, we still have businesses closed in many parts of this country. We have millions and millions of lives destroyed. With spring on the horizon, DeSantis suddenly appears to be in a position of strength compared to some of his fellow governors, including many of whom took far more restrictive approaches to the fight against coronavirus that caused a trickle-down effect on the economy. Strange little nod to trickle-down economics there. Yeah, weird.
Interesting.
Especially from CNN. He is not facing a potential recall like California Governor Gavin Newsom, under investigation like New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, or being second-guessed for lifting a statewide mask mandate like Texas Governor Greg Abbott. DeSantis refused to implement a mask mandate in the first place, making him an outlier a year ago. At the time, he was hewing closely to President Donald Trump's playbook, which he argued at the time was good for business. The unemployment rate in Florida is 4.8%, according to the latest figures from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, compared to 6.8% in Texas, 8.8% in New York, and 9% in California. Quote, if you look at what's happening in South Florida right now, I mean, this place is booming. It would not be booming if it was shut down, DeSantis said last month as a crush of tourists began arriving. I like how they call them tourists when in reality, they're COVID refugees leaving other states to go to Florida.
Yeah.
Quote, Los Angeles isn't booming. New York is not booming. It's booming here because you can live like a human being. Florida has, that's true, not like a caged dog. Florida has recorded about 9,204 cases per 100,000 people and about 150 deaths per 100,000 people, according to the latest data from Johns Hopkins University. Across the country overall, there have been about 8,969 cases per 100,000 people and 163 deaths per 100,000 people. I hate reading numbers on the show, despite not because of their factualness, but because I can feel myself tuning out when there's too many numbers.
Your brain tunes out as you read numbers.
Yeah, you got to remember all the numbers. Despite far more stringent restrictions, California only ranks one spot better than Florida in both measures. Its death rate is about 5% lower than Florida's, which means about 1,500 lives. This is a fun little flip they do. Its death rate is about 5% lower than Florida's, which means about 1,500 lives could have been saved in Florida if the state's death rate matched that of California. So they're saying, yeah, California with all of its draconian nonsense is ranked lower than Florida in deaths, but still they flip it around and say, oh, that means 1,500 lives could have been saved if Florida had done what California did. Still comparing one state, and that's not counting suicides, not counting, drug overdoses, not counting domestic abuse. That's just quote unquote COVID numbers.
Okay.
Still comparing one state to another is complicated and often counterproductive.
Oh, so everything you just did there, CNN, is counterproductive? Thank you.
Exactly. And notice how it's not counterproductive for any other reason besides it goes against the official narrative that CNN's been pushing for a year and makes them look stupid. So I think most of the rest we can skip. Let me find, I think there was one line I definitely wanted to hit. Sorry. Well, anyways, what do you think about that while I scan through the rest of this?
Well, first off, there's twice as many people population wise. I think Florida is about 21 million and California is close to 40 million. Mm-hmm. So I'm just curious how they got that number.
That's a good point. Yeah, they switch between, and this is part of how to lie with statistics, is you switch between actual numbers and percentages.
Yeah.
You got to compare percentages to percentages or actual people to actual people. Once you start flipping between percentages and actual data numbers, that's when the manipulation happens. And that's exactly what CNN does in this article, which is so strange because they spend the whole article praising Florida Governor DeSantis, and then they try to sneak in these little jabs, and it just doesn't work. So part of the meta narrative that we're seeing here is, as we've been noticing, more and more people, and I would say especially those who would consider themselves liberal, are discovering that the COVID coronavirus response has not been successful, and that governors were basically winging it, and those who did nothing did better than those who did the draconian lockdowns. And so CNN is realizing that they kind of have to start shifting the narrative a little bit, but they can't give too much credit to Republicans, obviously. They can't necessarily give him credit. They can say he's taking credit, but they can't give him credit for anything.
Right.
And of course, they got to make the numbers all messy as to not, give too strong of impression. But I think we're going to see this more and more. In a gradual process where certain mainstream outlets are going to have to start recognizing successes that they would have never recognized when Trump was president. Now, let me jump down the article here. This is a quote. Says, "We have a light at the end of the tunnel. We have a light at the end of the tunnel feeling." And this is, who is this? Sorry, they switch over to talking to some experts about whether or not this is a good thing.
Look at this.
Or bad thing.
Oh, you did.
Hold on. I think you're going to read the thing I'm about to read.
Representative Charlie Christ.
That's who it is. Christ. Is it Christ? I think it's Christ.
Christ.
Yes. And there's Christ. A quote from Christ here. It says, "We have a light at the end of the tunnel feeling, and that really is a godsend." Christ told CNN in an interview in his office here. Quote, "On the other hand, there's about 33,000 of my fellow Floridians that are dead now. And that's incredibly sad, tragic, and beyond unfortunate. So how are we doing? Well, we're struggling through it like the rest of the country is and just doing the best we can." I think this is the guy who's trying to run against DeSantis.
Yeah, so he's got to do a little bit of the praise, but also...
Well, yeah, and he doesn't even praise him. Yeah, so DeSantis is arguably one of the most beloved governors in America right now, especially since the downfall, the apocalyptic downfall of Gavin Newsom and Cuomo. And this is Chris, the guy who plans on running against DeSantis next year, who, again, one of the most beloved. And he says, on the other hand, there's about 33,000. So people died in a pandemic affecting the entire world. And even though Florida handled it better than almost any other state, well, at least they fell right in the middle, but didn't cause the suicides, the drug abuses, all the horrible things that came from lockdowns, the loss of livelihoods, etc. He gives a little shout out with the magic number 33,000 of my fellow Floridians. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just very, very interesting to have all this coming from CNN.
Yeah. And it's, Christ says he's a Republican, right? He served as Republican governor of the state from 2007 to 2011, switched parties in 2012. Right, so now he's a Democrat, which would make sense. And of course, he plays up the woke narrative.
Are you even woke?
Quote, was there preference given to certain Caucasian wealthy Republican communities?
Right.
Chris said, because it certainly looks like it.
Yeah, he's going on this. His whole thing is like, he can't fight against the response to the COVIDs. So he's leaning on this social justice aspect.
Was there people being racy and racist? Looks like it.
Looks like that might be the case.
That's a really, I don't know. Maybe it's just because we're reading it that it comes off that way, but it's just bad.
That's the thing. You got to be able to,
it's bad PR for a person trying to run government. Like I don't know. I guess people vote because of the parties, but you look at what they say. A lot of times, it's like, what are you saying, man? You're not making any sense.
I was looking up the Florida death numbers for COVID because he specifically says 33,000, and I wondered how far or close that was to the actual number.
The other thing, wasn't Florida the only state that made it requirement to give the cycle thresholds on the PCR tests? I think Florida, I remember reporting on it.
Yeah, I don't recall who that was. The deaths are at 32,614.
Close enough.
It is close to 33.
Enough.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's basically what I got. I like pointing out these meta narrative transitions because, first of all, That's one of the most important things to keep an eye on, in our sort of idea of how to look at the world. Tracking these narratives is very important because most people don't track the narratives, and the narrative changes and they don't even notice, and they start spewing the new narrative as if that was it the whole time. I've got some people in my life who have done that, and it's just like, you are literally saying the opposite of what you were saying before, and you're just following the mainstream narrative, and you don't realize
you're contradicting yourself.
Yeah,
Normie.
The contradiction of this. You're acting like this is how you felt the whole time. So it's important to track the narrative, and it's just fun because in a month we'll be doing the show, and this narrative will be in full swing. And if you're a Canary Cry listener, you will have tracked it the whole way around.
Yep. Tell me about the Asians.
Yes, let's talk about Asians real quick, Hans. And this is another example of following the meta narrative, because we called it long ago that Asians were next on the list for this social justice thing. This is coming from NBCnews.com. We've heard about the shooting, so this will have a little bit of that. But there's some very interesting things I want to get your opinion on, Gons. Mm-hmm. The headline: suspect in Atlanta area attacks said they weren't racially motivated. Experts say he doesn't get to decide. The white man, the white hog, charged Wednesday with killing 8 people.
The reference to the last episode where I made you read an entire self-hate letter.
Yes, it was very
from the Bahamas.
Nice of you. You're just trying to, anyways. The white man charged Wednesday with killing 8 people, including 6 women of Asian descent, at 3 Atlanta area spas, told authorities he was not driven by bigotry and that he had a sexual addiction and saw the businesses as a temptation for him that he wanted to eliminate, investigators said. Okay, so this man is obviously sick in the head. Anybody who does this has a screw loose. This is more evidence of that. Captain Jay Baker, the director of communications of the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office in Georgia, sparked outrage when he said at a news conference Wednesday that the suspect, Robert Aaron Long, 21, had a really bad day Tuesday. And this is what he did. On Thursday, the sheriff's...
I would say...
Yeah. Go on. On Thursday, the sheriff's office acknowledged that Baker's comments, quote, have become the subject of much debate and anger, and claimed they were, quote, not intended to disrespect any of the victims, the gravity of this tragedy, or express empathy or sympathy for the suspect. Investigators said they had not ruled out a racial motive, and experts say they should not. Quote, you can't ask perpetrators what they think, said Elaine Gross, president of the New York-based civil rights organization Erase Racism.
Gross.
Quote, that's not how we determine whether something is or isn't a hate crime. If Long, quote, had a bad day, she asked, quote, then why wasn't there a variety among the victims? That has to count for something. So 6 were Asian, 2 were not Asian. Determining what constitutes a hate crime is not simple or easy, Gross said, but it cannot be ignored that most of those killed in the rampage were women of Asian descent. Quote, there's been a tendency not to call things hate crimes to want to avoid that categorization, she said. Quote, and I think part of that is because they're looking for explicit intent, which might not be immediately evident. Representative Marilyn Strickland, a Democrat from Washington, took it a step further Wednesday, saying,
always bad to take it a step further.
Gotta take it a step further. Quote, the default position when violence is committed against people of color or women is to defer from confronting the hate that is often the motivation. Okay. So she's saying if something happens to a person of color or a woman, we have to assume that it's racism or misogyny. Quote, racially motivated violence must be called out for exactly what it is, and we must stop making excuses or rebranding it as economic anxiety or sexual addiction, Strickland said on the floor of Congress. Quote, as a woman who is Black and Korean, I am acutely aware of how it feels to be erased or ignored. So she's Korean and black. So we got to listen to her. Georgia had been one of the few states without any hate crime legislation protecting specific groups until last summer after Ahmaud Arbery, a black man, was shot by armed white men. The law added penalties for crimes motivated by a person's race or color, religion, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender, or disability. Notice how politics is not in that. Authorities in Georgia also should take into account the broader context. Gross and others said an increase in anti-Asian American violence across the country, which is interesting. Look, I'm not necessarily against this exact statement, but I'm still a little confused by it. So if something happens, if there's a trend of Asian violence, then anything that happens to an Asian by context is a hate crime, which you could see, is a complicated thing to assume in every case. The larger context, we know that this has been the targeting of Asians from the highest office under the previous administration. So, of course, we got to get Trump. Gross said, referring to former President Donald Trump, who used racist slurs to describe coronavirus. So that has been the immediate impact from what I see, targeting Asians, even if they're not killing them, targeting them for abuse or violence. Do you remember the racist slur that Trump used about the coronavirus?
Yeah, the Wuhan flu or the China virus. Wasn't it one of the other two?
The racist slur he used was Chinese. Do you see
the
this?
word Chinese?
The word Chinese was a racist slur when he said, President Donald Trump drew backlash Monday night after posting a tweet using the phrase Chinese virus. So the word Chinese is now a racist slur.
So how is that
not
different
a racial slur, a racist slur?
Right.
It's racist to call somebody Chinese or something Chinese. In a statement Wednesday, Asian Americans Advancing Justice Atlanta, a nonprofit legal advocacy organization, said that while details of the shootings are still emerging, the broader context cannot be ignored. Quote, the shootings happened under the trauma of increasing violence against Asian Americans nationwide, fueled by white supremacy and systemic racism.
Was there any indication that this guy had any history of like white supremacy or...
Well, I'm glad you asked. Gross said the authorities need to consider not just a person's actions, but also their intent. In this case, authorities should not take the word of the suspect in the killings and not consider the victims, she said. So don't
listen to them.
In this case, the authorities should not take the word of the suspect in the killings and not consider the victims. So don't consider the word and don't consider the victims, which is saying don't consider anything about the case. Am I reading that incorrectly?
I mean, what if he wrote like a manifesto? I guess just ignore it. He's wrong.
Ignore it. Yeah. No.
Unless it, of course, says that, I am a white male supreme to all.
Then believe him.
Then it's true.
But okay, so hold on. I know this is long, but the meaty stuff is at the end here. Activist and writer Brittany Packnett Cunningham, an NBC and MSNBC contributor, said Thursday that you don't need a person's permission to categorize their actions as racist or biased. Quote, if Asian women are targeted as a temptation, you feel the need to eliminate, you're a racist. Misogynist, she tweeted. We shouldn't have to say this.
Hold on. Just looking at this sentence here, the quotations.
She adds editor, the writer of the thing adds misogynist. The quote ends at racist and they add misogynist after the quote. So
either that or they just put the quotation in the wrong spot, but then let me look at the tweet.
Yeah, okay. Then it would be you're a racist misogynist. So hold on. Let's keep going.
Yeah,
I'm really on a roller coaster with this whole thing.
It's a mistake from the writer here.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. The
Is
quotations.
There a sick down at the end?
I don't know. But yeah, they should have been. Anyway, go on.
You looked it up. Okay. Stephen Freeman, vice president of civil rights at the Anti-Defamation League, said the reason why some crimes are charged as hate crimes is because there's an impact that's broader than an individual victim. Quote, it impacts communities, it impacts neighborhoods, it impacts cities, as we're seeing in Atlanta. Quote, but you still have to be able to show by the criminal standards that you need to meet that the selection or the targeting took place for those reasons, he said. Freeman agreed with Gross that on its face, the shootings in Atlanta should be investigated as a series of hate crimes. He also said that hate crime laws are not mainly intended for murder cases, where it would add a couple of years to the sentence of a person who could already face a lengthy jail time. Quote, I think it is more about the way it is described than it is about the criminal justice piece of it, he said. Quote, whether or not they can make out the legal charges, these acts are having an impact similar to what a hate crime would have on the community. The city officials need to understand the vulnerability people are feeling and the sense of anger that people are feeling and speak to that and commit to that and be aware of that in a sensitive kind of way. And that's the end. So I started out this article in one place. I swung to another place in about the middle. And then I ended at the end. First, confused. And second, I actually did gain a richness of understanding with this article, which I'll give Janelle Griffith some credit for. May not be exactly what she was looking for, but I understand the complexity of it. So first of all, this guy killed 8 people. Mm-hmm. The difference in a criminal justice sense between a regular murder of 8 people and a hate crime murder of 8 people is non-existent. What he's gonna get some, his murder life is over.
Murder is what you're saying.
Yeah, he killed justice. 8 people. He's gonna get at least a life sentence, something like that. He's not gonna gain any more punishment, whether this is a hate crime or not, which changes the situation in a couple ways. First of all, if it was a hate crime in his definition, he gains nothing by saying that it is not a hate crime. There's no defense. He doesn't get any less time. He's still going to get some crazy maximum punishment because he's a psychopath who killed 8 people and does not deserve any pity or defense in any reason. Let me be clear about that. There's a danger here of talking about this that might sound like somebody is defending the guy. Not defending the guy. He should be punished to the absolute maximum. If you're a capital punishment person, he should get the death penalty. If you're not, he should get 8 consecutive life sentences in a tiny room. But he has no reason, legally speaking, to deny it as a hate crime. He gains nothing. So, I don't know if it was a hate crime and he's a Ku Klux Klan member or whatever, he would actually get more props for calling it a hate crime. If he's going to jail, at least he would get the benefit of, getting the approval of other horrible racists in jail. But he denies that, which is okay. And then he goes into this really weird thing, his sexual addiction, where nail salons needed to be eliminated because they were a temptation. That is crazy. I mean, if that was false, that is a crazy thing to make up. So I don't think he's lying that he was objectively motivated by hating Asian women. Now, the fact that it was specifically Asian women mainly, let's say it, like most, many nail salon places, it's a very popular industry for Asian entrepreneurs, especially in the of women variety, to open nail salons. So the fact that he targeted nail salons is a little bit inextricable from the racial component.
Did it say it was nail salons? I thought it was like massage parlors.
I believe it was nail salons. It did not say in this article, but everything I was saying was nail salons.
Okay.
But, I think the same might be said about massage parlors. I don't know the number, but at least in sort of the stereotypical sense,
sure,
I think there's a similar demographic there. But so anyways, go through all that. It doesn't really matter. Nothing on a criminal justice. There is no defense to be gained for him for it not being a hate crime. Plus, he kind of frames himself as this sort of like perverted weirdo. But at the end, when they're talking about whether they should call it a hate crime or not, and it doesn't matter what he says, it's just a matter of what we call it. I was sort of interested at the concept of the fact that it affects the larger group of Asians, where, specifically Asian women in nail parlors or massage parlors or whatever it is might be, the fear is stricken in a very specific group of people. And calling it a hate crime is just sort of a way to recognize that, is what they're saying. But it also is a way to, it's got this weird sort of fearmonger vibe to it, which is like, no. This wasn't just some crazy pervert who killed a bunch of Asian women. This was specifically a hate crime. So if you are Asian, watch out, because this crazy guy, there might be more out there. And I don't know how much else to say about it, but what are your thoughts about what I've said so far?
Well, obviously the main point you mentioned about the objectiveness of in a criminal court case, the hate crime element doesn't matter. And then the woke crowd basically making it about race. That is clearly part of this agenda that's been ongoing for years now. And, we've mentioned how Asians, we're in line, it's all about the black man versus the white man. But now they got to move into the Asian people, especially perfect place to do it after the Wuhan flu, to really bring that up as a sort of systemic issue and all this kind of thing. And yes, I agree with you. I think first off, this spree very conveniently timed.
Oh yeah. It's only been about 3 weeks since anybody started talking about hate on Asians.
Very convenient.
This is a extremely recent narrative that's been coming out.
Yes. And to the point, on the top of this NBCnews.com, you have the different topics: politics, plan your vaccine, COVID-19, U.S. news, opinion. Asian America is now a tab on NBCnews.com. That tells you this is a psyop. This is a complete psyop. And yeah, you mentioned the fear mongering of those particular groups of women that may be in that industry or whatever, just Asians in general. This is fear mongering to Asians in general, the whole community. They even said, it affects the communities and the blah, blah, blah. Yeah. This whole thing is, if you're Asian, be afraid. Be afraid of the white man. Be scared because they might kill you because you're Asian. What?
It's almost like they spent so much. Yeah, right. They spent so much time sort of disconnecting Asian people from the social justice movement. And I think they realized they needed to fold them in. They needed to, you can't leave out one minority from this. And so suddenly, over the past 2 or 3 weeks, that's been a very, very intense focus on turning that minority or folding them in to the Black Lives Matter thing. Now, I do want to say, I just took a second because you're right. A lot of people were saying it was massage therapists. For some reason, I had heard nail salons. But yes, they're described as spas. Gunmen opened fire Tuesday at 3 Atlanta area spas. reading further on, yes, it does look like they're specifically massage parlors. But I will say over here on NBC News, I clicked in. The very first victim that they mention is Delana Ashley, 33 years old.
Oh, there you go. There's your signal.
Of course, there were many victims, but the first one that they list, and they don't do it in order. There's no order of age. There's no nothing. But the first one they list is Delana Ashley, who is 33 years old.
Yeah, I really do think this is and from my experience, and you know, I don't know if folks understand this out there. If you're Asian, you do. Maybe, you know, you learn more about the culture or whatever, but there's a whole bunch of different Asians. You know, I'm Japanese American. There's Chinese Americans. There's Korean Americans. There's Vietnamese Americans. There's Filipino Americans. A lot of different kind of Asians, you know? So there is no consensus amongst the Asian community either. There's a lot of, I've experienced a lot of woke mindset of a lot of the Asian community. It's normally, it's not common to be like anti-vax or, you know, anti whatever, anti-race. Like a lot of them kind of just go with the flow of what the mainstream narrative is. And so this is part of, I think, bringing them into the fold. And it is strange. I think there's a movement happening with more Asians on screen in movies and stuff. What was the Rich Asians movie a couple years ago?
That was a big boost for
it was huge.
Asian American,
all Asian cast, you know, and all this kind of thing. So it's been moving in that direction for sure. But specifically in America, I find it interesting. It's like they ran out of steam with the black versus white thing. They've used up all of the things to use in the palette. So they're like, well, what can we do? Let's bring a little yellow into it, huh? we need more color in this conversation.
Sure.
So yeah, I fear that this is more of a giant psyop, and as we said, it's, you know, we're just in line, we're next kind of thing. You know, it was expected, but the fact that they have a complete tab up at the top of NBC News, Asian America, just screams at me psyop. So
yeah. Well, it's very interesting. And of course, it doesn't matter whether or not he was motivated by race or not. And it doesn't matter. And
if he was, look, I tend to think that, again, this kind of act wasn't, if you take the perspective of a controlled opposition, creating these types of situations, the elite, the proverbial they, pick on certain types of people that have mental problems, and they entice them somehow, whether it's direct in some kind of entrapment situation, or who knows what kind of technologies they have that can really motivate people to go crazy with this kind of thing. So I don't rule anything out.
This guy is obviously completely bonkers. In a lot of different ways.
And it's fascinating too to hear, to eliminate the temptation. They don't exactly say it, but I don't know if that's, like a jab towards
Christianity.
Christianity, yeah. You
it
must
feels
eliminate
that way.
The temptation. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think part of it has to be that. And if you think about
but even if, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Got a frog in my throat. But isn't it interesting? They never mention it, but it does automatically triggered. Like that is the triggered thought process. Like, oh, he's took drastic action against temptation. He's obviously religious.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the main narratives here to really pick at. There is if you think about the CCP influence in America, of course they want Asians to be targeted, because especially to take down Christianity in the US, that's very difficult to do. But they've done a very good job of making the Christian faith-believing people associate with conspiracy theorists and QAnon and white supremacists and white nationalists and fringe and, you know, all that. And so now, you know, you got to bring in a little bit more ammunition to continue that narrative.
Yeah, that is interesting. We have yet to hear that he, you know, he was on Reddit or he was on 4chan or he thought that Trump really won the presidency. I mean, that would have tied this up in a beautiful little bow. Is you got to tie the guy to Trump.
Yeah, somebody in the back room is in trouble. Why didn't you make
they might not even
pick the right guy?
Interesting, though, they don't even need to anymore.
They don't. Yeah.
Because the word, you know, racially motivated automatically makes him a Trump supporter, which is funny because we've seen in some previous shootings, horrible incidences, that it's automatically tied to white Republicans, but the person turns out to be a registered Democrat and an immigrant, but that doesn't get played up.
Yeah, all the things we've been talking about here are somewhat summarized in our 33 updates here.
Okay.
33 is the number of completion of the Great War.
This first one is from twintears.com. Interesting website. 33 new cases of COVID-19 confirmed in Steuben County. New church cluster.
Oh.
Yeah.
Church cluster.
Yeah.
What an interesting phrase.
Steuben County Public Health Department announced Monday that 33 county residents tested positive for COVID-19 since Friday. This brings the total to 5,714, 99 of which were currently active. Where's that church mentioned here? It doesn't say. Oh, here we go. If you attended the North Baptist Church service on March 7th or meeting on March 8th and have not yet been quarantined, please monitor for symptoms and consider getting tested with or without symptoms. So again, a little targeting of the church here.
Asymptomatic spread in the church.
That's right. And this next one, the one that was driving me crazy earlier here. This is concerning the Derek Chauvin situation. This is care11.com. Derek Chauvin trial. Up to 33 people allowed in the courtroom. And here's who they are.
According to Hennepin County courts, up to 33 people will be allowed in at a time. The jury, which includes 12...
Why? What is the science behind that? Are all these courtrooms just like perfectly spaced that you can really only fit 33 people?
Yes.
What is the logic?
That is the ritual.
Well, we know there's no logic. The magical spell doesn't work unless you have 33 people in there. Wow. The jury, which includes 12 jurors and two alternates and 19 other people.
It's 33, just a coinkydinky.
Just happens to... Yeah, that's the other weird thing. Okay, so we need 12 jurors by law. So we got the 12 jurors.
Yeah.
And you need two alternates. I'm pretty sure that's part of the system. So you got that. You got to have 14 people no matter what. And then they're like, well, how many more should we add? 20? No, 20. That's too round of a number. We'll make it 19. Oh, okay. Makes total sense.
Yeah, so we know what this trial is all about. Continuing on here. An old foe.
Oh my gosh.
WTMJ.
I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on the comment. We know what this trial is all about, and it really is part of it's part of the magic. It's part of the spell.
Yep, the ritual. And
the
they break
BLM,
it down.
you need it for the George. It's the completion of the George Floyd spell.
Here, we need to really break it down. Okay, 14 jurors, 12 plus 2 alts, 1 judge, 1 defendant, 3 members of the defense team, 4 members of the prosecution team, 1 family member on the defendant's side, 1 family member of the George Floyd family.
Wait, so they broke it down?
Yeah.
They broke it down
clerk,
that much?
Yeah. 1 court reporter, 2 Hennepin County deputies, 2 media representatives, 1 court TV technician.
Of course.
And 1 witness.
And 1 eye of newt, 2 breath of frog, a single hair from a virgin, and the spell will be complete. Bring to a boil. Bring country to a boil.
One court TV technician. Technicians are never counted as a number of person in the room.
I know.
We were techs for years at a church. We were never part of the count for the
Congratulations to AV technicians around the country. You are officially counted. Wow, that's pretty incredible.
Man, that's funny.
I love how they list it out like that too.
I know. They're probably like, oh, they're going to be on to us. Well, we better show them exactly how we broke it down.
They're giving the ingredients to the potion.
Oh, we only got to 32. Well, is there a tech or something in there? Yeah.
That's incredible.
You're brilliant.
We get a techie in there.
Yeah, we were never counted as part of the capacity.
$12 an hour.
Yeah, good job, guy. This is WTMJ.com. Jihadists on motorbikes ambush Mali's military. 33 killed.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
Jihadists on motorbikes. Sounds like a Middle East punk rock band.
Yeah, about 100 suspected Islamic extremists on motorcycles ambushed the Malayan military convoy in the country's volatile north, killing at least 33 people in the deadliest attack of its kind since the president was overthrown by a coup last year, officials said Wednesday. Notice how it says at least 33. It's never exactly.
Yeah.
It's
why not 34?
Right. I don't know. The military earlier said that the UN peacekeeping mission known as MINUSMA helped evacuate the wounded soldiers. Helicopters from the French mission in Mali known as Operation Barkhane, also helped the Malayan military secure the area in the aftermath, a statement said. So there you go. Another 33, going international with the 33. It's not just in the US anymore.
Yeah, it's a global movement.
One more here.
Ooh.
Clickondetroit.com. 33 cats rescued from Monroe home after mail carrier notices some on roof. I feel like this is like the third story where 33 pets,
33
cats
animals
are rescued. What is up with that?
That is bizarre. Yeah.
Are just Freemasons own cats and they're like, I must have 33 of them?
Well, maybe it has to do with the COVID, because remember, your dog was going to give you COVID, your cat was going to give you COVID, but then they got animal COVID vaccines, and now 33, don't worry, the pets are rescued.
33 cats needed
Call off the animal assassination.
Yeah. We need meow immunity.
Oh yeah, immunity. That's herd immunity. All right. Okay. Wow. Well, those are good. That was a good 33 update.
Yeah,
segment.
good run. Yeah. Good run.
Cool. All right. Well, I got some news coming from Israel that I thought was very interesting, especially in the context of some. We talk about the Gnostics here or there, and so I think it's going to be biblical, Guns.
It's got to be biblical.
You kind of stepped on it, but I understand that you can't always hear the jingles.
You can't. Yes. Yeah. Well, that might be a good to say on air. Through our troubles recently, our tech troubles, folks, Gons and I have gained new, fresh understanding of each other's experience during these live broadcasts. That's some tips for couples and best friends out there. Just remember, the other person may be having an experience that you don't quite understand. This comes from the New York Times, The Gray Lady. Speaking of magical artifacts, the headline, Israel reveals newly discovered fragments of Dead Sea Scrolls. Israeli researchers unveiled on Tuesday, and just for a little backup, they mention it in the article at some point, but I think it's important to have the context for those who might not be fully versed. The Dead Sea Scrolls, or the Nag Hammadi scrolls, were found, in the 20th century. These are the Apocrypha, or different parts of the Apocrypha, or non-canonical biblical books that were found, including, the Gospel of Thomas, I believe the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, what are some other ones in there? Gospel of Philip, I think.
Yeah, there's a bunch of
some of those
ones.
Weird ones. That shed light and history on the Gnostic Christians.
Right, but also I think the Book of Enoch was discovered as part of the original discoveries in the early 40s, I think. Yeah, 46 was the initial one. Maybe they mentioned it in the article.
And these texts are used now for modern Gnostics, but also a lot of occult uses. But we found some more. Israeli researchers unveiled on Tuesday dozens of newly discovered Dead Sea Scroll fragments containing biblical texts dating back nearly 2,000 years, adding to the body of artifacts that have shed light on the history of Judaism, early Christian life, and ancient humankind. The parchment fragments, ranging from just a few millimeters to a thumbnail in size. Wow, that's small. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we're going to be getting any new gospels
they
out of.
They used commas.
All right. Yeah, good one. Are the first in about 60 years to have been unearthed in archaeological excavations in the Judean desert. They are found as part of a 4-year Israeli national project to prevent further looting of antiquities from the remote caves and crevices of the desert east and southeast of Jerusalem, which straddles the boundary of Israel and the occupied West Bank. Dun, dun, dun. The project turned up many other rare and historic finds, including a large woven basket with a lid that has been dated to approximately 10,500 years ago, and maybe the oldest such intact basket in the world. The archaeologists also found a 6,000-year-old partially mummified skeleton of a child buried in the fetal position and wrapped in a cloth. Quote, the desert team showed exceptional courage, dedication, and devotion to purpose, rappelling down to caves located between heaven and earth, said Israel Hassan, the departing director of the Israel Antiquities Authority, which is the custodian of some 15,000 fragments of the scrolls. Wow, they really make this sound like an exciting archaeology adventure. Rappelling down into caves. If they had to rappel down into caves, how did the ancient people get their stuff down there? I don't know.
Flying aircraft.
Maybe they fell. Oh, yes. Or their
anti-gravity
boots.
Crystal stone UFOs.
Of course. He added in a statement that their work in the caves involved, quote, digging and sifting through them, okay, enduring thick and suffocating dust and returning with gifts of immeasurable worth for mankind. Yeah, wow, this guy is very stoked. The Dead Sea Scrolls, mostly discovered during the last century, contain the earliest known copies of parts of almost every book of the Hebrew Bible, other than the Book of Esther, written on parchment and papyrus.
Down with the patriarchy.
Dating from about the 3rd century BC to the 1st century AD, the biblical and apocryphal texts are widely considered to be among the most significant archaeological discoveries of the 20th century and remain the subject of heated academic debate around the world. The arid conditions of the Judean desert provided a unique environment for the natural preservation of the artifacts and organic materials that would ordinarily not have withstood the test of time. The latest fragments from a scroll that was first discovered in the so-called Horror Cave, south of Ein Gedi in Israeli territory. Ein Gedi. Mm-hmm. Written in Greek by 2 scribes, it dates from the period of the Bar Kokhba revolution, almost 1900 years ago, when Jewish rebels fled with their families and hid from the Romans in caves. The Romans discovered the besieged the refugees in the Horror Cave until they starved to death there. The first archaeologists to arrive in the last century found their skulls and bones placed in baskets in the cavern. The new fragments contain verses from they call it Zechariah 8, 16, and 17, including part of the name of God, written in ancient Hebrew, and verses from Nahum 1, 5 through 6, both from the biblical book of the 12 minor prophets. So it doesn't sound like there's anything new yet. Experts managed to reconstruct 11 lines of the text from Zechariah, including the verses, quote, "These are the things you are to do. Speak the truth to one another, render true and perfect justice in your gates, and do not contrive evil against one another, and do not love perjury, because all those are things that I hate." That's a especially relevant text to the things that we talk about on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Do not, excuse me, do not contrive evil against one another, and do not love perjury. Oren Abelman, a member of the Antiquities Authority team who conserved and studied the new fragments, described the artifacts as, quote, "another small piece of the puzzle of the past." Speaking in the laboratories of the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, where the fragments were displayed for reporters on Tuesday morning, he said the concept of equal justice for all was laid out in these verses that, quote, "are read by people and are meaningful to people to this very day." Okay, so we got to connect them to social justice too.
Woke. It's the woke passages that were found.
We found the woke Bible. A Bedouin shepherd came across the first of the end, then it kind of goes into the history of the Dead Sea Scrolls. But yeah, there we go. Big deal.
Yeah, I don't know. Big deal, but also it seems like a lot of this stuff there's more hype than, because I think they're always discovering things, aren't they? I guess it's a bigger deal than most discoveries. But I'm waiting for
kind of have a funny feel when he felt like he had to describe it as a harrowing adventure.
Right, to make the story more interesting.
We only found a fingernail worth size piece of text. Oh, but these brave archaeologists, use your imagination, folks. This is amazing.
We went to the depths of the horror cave and found bones and skulls. Yeah, I'm waiting for the the cube that comes together and opens up a gate, and
the Tesseract comes and
a little more action there. But
since you bring up the Tesseract guns.
Oh gosh. No, I didn't really bring it up. You did, but okay.
No. Everybody now, I'm a little bit of a Marvel expert now that I have rewatched all of the movies. I just last night finished watching Endgame, and I forgot how good those last two movies were, Infinity War and Endgame. I forget why I guess I just wanted to brag. I finished all the Marvel movies last night.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know what to do now, though. I don't know what to do. I've absorbed all of the brainwashing, and I'm woke thanks to Marvel. And I'm out of stuff. So I need something new. Somebody email me if there's some extra canonical Marvel works. You
can look up the Illuminati. The Marvel Illuminati?
I could, but I think that would require me to read, and I don't know if I'm there yet.
No, I think they have comic books. Picture reading. You can do that.
If somebody could just take all of the comic books
and summarize it in a sentence for Basil.
Take a picture of each slide, put them in quick succession, and then play them on a giant screen and put some music behind it. I will be ready for the comic book life.
Okay. Well, good. Well, we got one more story here that'll bridge us into the break and bring us to the Waksheen updates beyond the break. But this one is another biblical story here, kind of.
It's got to be biblical.
And this is CBN.com, and that's the Christian perspective. Franklin Graham urges clergy to support COVID vaccines, says Jesus would have used them too. What? I don't think so, guy. With some Americans feeling hesitant about COVID-19 shot, COVID-19 shot, evangelist Franklin Graham is urging pastors to encourage their congregations to trust in the vaccines. Graham, the president and CEO of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and Samaritan's Purse, told ABC News that there would be harmful consequences if pastors discouraged church members from receiving the shot. Quote, I would hope that the pastors in the pulpit would tell people how they can be saved from God's judgment, Graham said.
What?
I think for a pastor to tell someone not to take the vaccine is problematic because what would happen if that person got coronavirus and died?
Because telling someone that they can escape God's judgment by taking the vaccine is not problematic.
Well, the premise here is problematic because I think he's coming from a place where the whole coronavirus, the COVID-19 thing is part of God's judgment. I've heard Christians say that.
So you need to use the science and take the vaccine to escape God's judgment.
Yeah, that's wrong on
because your immune system is not good enough. That is a whole new level. I mean, bonkers. We know why he's saying it because he's in the club, man. He's got the tattoo. He's got the he's got the membership card. And so he's just kind of spouting off what his controllers are telling him to say. But yeah, to place it, I mean, just the very phrase that you can escape God's judgment by taking the vaccine is cuckoo bananas. I think
it's even better than that.
I think the technical term.
Cuckoo bananas.
Yeah.
Quote, I think if there were vaccines available in the time of Christ, Jesus would have made reference to them and used them.
Why? Why do you think this?
This is false.
Give me scriptural references.
Yeah, like touching somebody and healing them wasn't enough. Here, take this needle with the stuff in it.
Why would he do that if he could just,
heal
be
people.
God and heal people?
I don't know, man. This is troubling. In a Facebook post earlier this month, Graham praised God for positive achievements that have occurred over the past year. Quote, I'm thankful to God that we are seeing a decline in COVID-19 cases and that steps are being taken to open our economy back up, get people back to work, and get children back to school. We thank God for these steps forward. Continue to pray for our nation.
Yeah.
Additionally, Pastor John Hagee with Cornerstone Church in San Antonio, Texas, stands by the connection between scripture and science. Hagee, who tested positive for COVID last October, quote, believes in both the power of prayer and modern medicine. These are not mutually exclusive, end quote, said a Hagee ministry spokesperson on his behalf.
Yeah, again, making a false comparison.
Yeah.
It's not about modern medicine not lining up with God's will on earth.
Yeah. The false equivalence that they constantly make there. Most importantly, these evangelists are reminding Americans that God is the creator of science and medicine, and vaccines can have a positive impact on our lives. Romans 1:20 explains that the work of God's hands is unmistakable, and the evidence proving this is irrefutable. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes, his eternal nature, have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so that they are without excuse. Yet that doesn't have anything to do with vaccines, by the way. You can loosely connect it. I've heard apologists use this passage to nail down the materialist atheist scientist for being fools, denying God's existence because they're basically, as scientists, studying the work of God. Creation itself has order to it. There's logic to it. It's understandable by the human mind and that sort of thing. And certainly that's an argument to be made. But to extend that into, therefore, take the jab. Take the jab because Jesus would have taken the jab too.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the context of what they're saying, God, promoting medical science as completely in line with the will of God, which I do believe medical science, there's nothing wrong with medical science, but it's not all good. That's like saying, by that logic, the opiate crisis is supported by scripture. Or
right.
It's not a full 100% conversation.
Yeah.
Not all medical science is, should be excused by calling it supported by God.
Yeah, this is disappointing in many regards, especially because I know the Samaritan's Purse and Franklin Graham. They've been made known that they're aware of some of the issues with the current situation in the United States in terms of discriminating against believers.
Mm-hmm.
So they're aware of that, and they are doing things about it. I'll say that much. I don't know how much more I can officially say. I'm allowed to say, not that I know like big secrets or anything like that. I just know that they're involved in some pretty intense forward-thinking projects.
Yeah.
But this actually came as a shock to me. I was like, really? That I thought the reason why they were doing some of that was to combat some of the censorship that is happening online, but apparently not from the head guy there. Maybe he got a phone call.
Is he the head of Samaritan's Purse?
I think that's what it said here. He's the CEO of Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and Samaritan's Purse. So, yeah.
Interesting.
So I don't know, man. This is rough. I think maybe he got a phone call from the Three Amigos, especially the one that's supposed to keep all the Christians or all the faith believers in check. And he's like, you better, if you want to keep your ministry, if you want to keep your 501c3.
What's that guy's first name? Francis?
Francis Collins.
Collins.
I actually, that wouldn't surprise me if they were like, hey, you want to maintain your 501c3, you can't be going around, being anti-vax.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely possible. I think the 501c3 conversation opens up a whole other thing. A lot of people think that all 501c3s like directly take orders.
It's the devil.
It just isn't necessarily true. I mean, we've worked with 501c3s. I've been in leadership of 501c3s. To my knowledge, I've never gotten an order from the Illuminati. But
that's how
certainly
they get you.
Using 501c3 as a hostage tactic does open up churches. If they are so afraid to lose that status, it could open them up to manipulation. That I will concede.
Okay, good. All right. Well, let's take a break here.
Let's do it. Ooh, that was really quiet to me.
Really?
Yeah. There's just that one though. But okay, we're going to take a quick break, folks, but don't go anywhere because after the break, we've got a bunch of Whack-Cheen updates. You're not going to want to fall behind. And then, of course, after that, we're going to be talking about the beast system. Oh my gosh, name a topic. We've got
so much.
Surveillance, cyborgs, AI, China, deepfakes, and of course, what beast system would be complete without chimeric genetic tampering. So you're not going to want to go anywhere, folks, because that's going to be a good second half show. But we do want to take a second to catch our breath and thank some of our producers. That's right. I said producers, folks, and so thankful. I mean, one silver lining of our technological problems is we have 2 episodes worth of producers to thank. We couldn't thank anybody on Wednesday. And we just have the best producers in the world. And that's right. I said producers, folks, because this is the real world. We are on the value for value model. And if you don't know what that is, you might notice we haven't done any ad reads, no affiliate codes, no Fashion Nova products that you can buy with your Canary Cry special discount code. No, we are on the value for value model, which is very simple. We have decided we agree with Adam Curry from the No Agenda Show that every corporate sponsorship is a form of censorship. Advertising, thanks to the godfather of advertising in the mid-20th century, the nephew of Freud, and that is Mr. Bernays.
Edward
Bernays, yes. Edward Bernays, the godfather of advertising, who just loved to talk about how advertising was literally brainwashing and how the common man needs a an elite man to tell him how to think about the world and what to do about it. And of course, it's a very common idea in advertising that, the Hegelian dialectic gets deployed. You create a problem and then sell a product to fix that problem. And advertising is also the way that the most evil companies like Facebook and Google and name them all, 99% of their revenue is from advertising. They don't like to tell you that, but that is the fact of the matter. And so advertising as a global ideology, as a spirit or a principality or a power on earth, we've decided is just not something we want to align ourselves with. It's not very good for our bank accounts, but at least we can sleep at night. And producers are those listeners of Canary Cry News Talk who are freeing themselves from the brainwashing of advertising and value this show. And in turn, put some value back in. And it's the only way that the show happens. It's the production stops producing if the producers don't produce. And so we want to thank some of those producers right now. And remember, you can put this title on your business cards, put it on your LinkedIn, put it on your resume, whatever it is. Give them our email address and we will vouch for you. This is the real deal. There's a few ways to become a producer of the show. The first way I want to talk about is patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. That's right. Patreon.com/CCNT. And Gons, this is a new thing for us. We have a couple new Patreon producers.
All right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. I want to thank, first of all, producer David K for coming in.
David K.
Thank you very much, producer David K. I didn't hear a gong.
All right, let me make it louder. We're still trying to fix everything here.
I just want to make sure that everybody gets their gonging if they need to be gonged. Next, we have producer Tess P. Thank you very much, Tess P. Next, we have producer Amanda F. Came in during the show.
Thank you, producer Amanda.
Ooh, yeah, that's nice and gongy now. Now, we also have patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. For those who don't know, you are listening to Canary Cry News Talk, which is a different show than Canary Cry Radio. If you haven't listened to Canary Cry Radio, that is an interview style podcast that we've been doing since 2012. It is a great place to hear all your favorite authors and researchers and interesting people talk about the worldview that we express on this show. Just go ahead and search Canary Cry Radio. Different show, but still great. Go listen. And we have a new producer who came in on the CCR Patreon, and that is producer Dale B.
Thank you, producer Dale.
Thank you very much. Coming in with the 3306. Thank you very much. Yes. Now, here's the thing, folks. Patreon is not the only way to become a producer. In fact, a lot of people hate Patreon. We almost got kicked off of Patreon. Thankfully, we didn't. And if you don't like Patreon, that's okay. We still support you. So you can still support us at canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support is a great place to become a producer of the show. Gons, I do want to mention that Redbeard on YouTube says, I wish Gons was my dad. So there you go.
I don't know about that.
Daddy Gons. Yeah, so you can head on over to canarycryradio.com/support to become a producer. Over there, we've got all sorts of fun stuff. We've got some literature on the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. You're going to want to read about that. But you can also come in and support the show monthly. You can become a monthly producer if you want to consistently support the show. And we are so thankful to all of our monthly producers for helping lay down a firm foundation for the continuation of this show. But if commitment is not your thing, you can go ahead and make a one-time producership in any amount you like. There's also cryptocurrency and all sorts of fun ways to support the show. Gons, who do we have coming in on the PayPal?
I should text my 19-year-old stepdaughter that there's other people that would have me as their father.
Yes.
And be
don't
like,
take him for granted.
Don't take me for granted, child.
Some strange man on the internet is ready to step up and take your place.
Okay, so in PayPal here, we have many people to thank. Thank you so much, everybody, for sticking with us. And, we don't like missing shows, but the technology exploded all around me. And
yes, the support was actually very touching.
It was amazing. And the first person we want to thank is producer Lynn K.
Thank you very much, producer Lynn K.
Very generous. And she says, thank you guys. This is to help with equipment. God bless your continued work. Love you, Lynn K. Thank you, Lynn. We really appreciate it. And your generosity is, it went a long way. Let's just say that.
Yes. Thank you very much.
And helping us get back on our feet here. Next, we need to thank producer Malik.
Malik in the house. And producer Malik actually came in twice, once on Wednesday and once today. Thank you very much, producer Malik. And
appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.
And you're welcome for saying your name right.
Is this next one, is he in there twice?
I don't know. I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think this guy also came in on Wednesday.
This guy. Who are we talking about? We're talking about producer Saul.
Yeah, producer Saul A coming in with a pair of pockets of sevens.
Pair of pockets full of sevens. Yeah.
Yes.
Break that one down. Thank you for that, producer Saul. Next up, we have producer Christina D. Thank you, producer Christina. And she says, hey, Basil and Gons, I was sorry to hear about the issues you were having in the last episode. I know that echo must have been frustrating. I hope this can help you guys fix up your streaming setup. And with any other financial needs, keep up the good work with Canary Cry News Talk. Each episode always brings a smile to my face. Definitely my favorite fun and flirty podcast. Ooh.
That's us.
Fun and flirty. Us. That's how you tell your friends about the show. Like, what do you listen to?
You're gonna love this show.
I just listened to this fun and flirty show.
Yeah, that's a good way to try to rope some people in. Thank you very much, producer Christina.
I don't know though. What if they're severely disappointed when they start listening and we don't?
They won't be.
We don't.
I can guarantee it.
I guess we'll let the googly eyes flirt with all the people.
How could they not think this is the funniest and flirtiest show?
Okay. So again, very helpful. Thank you so much, producer Christina D. That was very kind of you with your generous gift there. Next up, we want to thank producer Ernesto Q.
Thank you very much, Ernesto.
Is that the real QAnon coming in?
Yeah, I think so.
Pretty sure we figured it out. Ernesto, he's the real Q.
Don't tell Patreon.
No, yeah, seriously. Everybody will get canceled. Next up, producer Brian H.
Thank you very much, producer Brian H.
And the H stands for what? Hooray!
Thank you, Brian. Hooray!
Next up, see, we're flirty. Next up,
flirty.
We have producer Ashton R.
Thank you very much, producer Ashton.
Producer Ashton with the pocket full of sevens. A quick note: thanks for all guys do. Hold on, I think they meant thank you for all that you guys do. I look forward to every episode. Longtime listener, finally starting to support monthly. P.S. You should make some stickers available for purchase if possible. Soli Deo Gloria. So
Soli Deo Gloria to you.
Stickers. Yeah, we have some stickers. I have a little pile of with some episode art.
Yeah. Oh, episode art. Yeah. Whenever we go to conferences, we always had some stickers.
Yeah, we got a little stack
if we have any laying around.
Yeah, might figure a way to give those out to folks. Although that requires mailing.
Shipping is a problem.
Yeah, shipping. It's just another thing that I'd have to do.
I think there's a way we can automate that on Patreon, but yeah.
Yeah, but then
we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Ashton.
We'll just mail out giant Q stickers and get canceled. Geez. No, it stands for. Haven't you ever watched Star Trek? Q the Miserable. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Are you convinced yet,
R.
government?
Next up, we have producer Allison G.
Thank you very much, producer Allison G.
Very generous again. Allison G, thank you. Next up, producer Anastasia H.
Woo! Thank you very much, Anastasia H, coming in with the 33 Illuminati handler producership.
Yep, and she's not alone because Timothy P also came in with 33.
Oh my gosh, Timothy P, we've got the whole Illuminati handling us.
Okay. Good job. Next up, producer Ciara.
Yes, producer Ciara, thank you very much. And I'll mention here, she's got a note that says, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Canarians will be in Texas and ready to hang out. I sent y'all an email. There is supposed to be a Zoom meeting this weekend, and I'll host if people show up. Otherwise, I have those in Texas email me as usual. That's right. This weekend is the Canary Cry meetup. I think technically it's tomorrow. That's in the Dallas, Texas area. So if you're a Texas listener, definitely, and if you're within traveling distance of the Dallas area, get your pen and paper ready. Get ready to take a note because I'm going to give you producer Ciara's email address and send her an email for the details. Let's see. But yeah, she said Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So there's like a marathon hangout going on with Canarians in Texas. All right. So if you're a Texas producer or listener or around that area and ready to travel this weekend, take down this email. It is Ciara Lauren 93. That's CIARALAUREN 93 at gmail.com. Ciara Lauren at gmail.com. There you go. Yeah, I can't wait to hear about that. I will not be making it to Texas this weekend, but I will be praying for all of you and sending cupcakes.
Ooh, don't make promises you can't fulfill. Now you're gonna have to order
I don't
cupcakes.
know where. I'm just putting Texas on the box. And so somewhere in Texas, it's a scavenger hunt of the century.
They'll just
you got to find a box of cupcakes I have shipped somewhere to Texas.
You can just put it on the side of the road, your closest freeway, and just leave a note or a giant sign that says "Needs to go to Texas, please." If anyone's going to Texas, take
Texas
this box
or
of donuts or cupcakes.
Yeah.
On the screen is the flyer here. Ready to connect outside the cage, and all the information there with the Zoom call and also the email address. It's a little hard to see because it's smaller, but yes, for all your information.
And so that's a good. Thanks for bringing that up. If you can't travel to Texas, still email Ciara because you can do the Zoom hangout.
Yes, and also she sent a note that has so Texas 321. That's the 21st of March is in Texas. Pacific Northwest, April 24th through the 25th. Florida, cool. 522.
Oh, Florida.
Yeah, that's my.
Oh my gosh,
that's my wife's.
Yeah, we need to build some sort of system. I think producer Ciara. Yeah, we need to do some sort of infrastructure. I think producer Ciara is just like handling these through her email account, which is incredible. Not just technologically, but the dedication is incredible. So yeah, Texas, Pacific Northwest in April, Florida in whatever's after April,
May 22nd,
and Southern California in June. Email if you're in or around any of those areas. Go ahead and again, Ciara Lauren 93 at gmail.com.
This is the way.
Yeah.
This is the
cool.
way.
I did not know about all of those.
Very good. So now you do. Mm-hmm. Okay. Moving on here. Thank you, producer Ciara, for all your help. It's really amazing to see the community take hold and just do your thing. We're here to facilitate all this stuff, but
producers produce. That's the deal, man.
Produce.
And producer Ciara is producing.
Yeah.
All right. Who's next?
Next up, we have producer Brian H.
Thank you very much, producer Brian H.
I'm having a moment. Okay. I thought we already read Brian H., but we didn't. Thank you for your producership. Next up, we have Andrew P.
Thank you very much, Andrew P. We might have done Brian twice. This Brian Hooray.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought.
Maybe he came in twice.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you twice. Anyways, producer Brian H.
We are so organized over here that we...
It's been a hard week.
It's been rough, yeah. Okay. Next up, Shield Labs.
Woo! Thank you very much, producer Shield Labs. And we got to add this to the break today. Shield Labs sends in a message. Today is my wife Misty's birthday.
Woo!
You're her favorite show to listen to each week, and she introduced me to your channels. Could you guys be rock stars and wish her a very canary birthday? We will do that. We'll put her on the birthday list and sing her a little song. And but before that, happy birthday, Misty!
Happy birthday, Misty! Thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. And thank you to Shield Labs for the consistent support and producership.
Yes, absolutely.
Next up, we have producer Jason B.
Thank you very much, producer Jason B.
Does he get you hyped?
It just felt right.
Yeah. And next, producer David J.
Yes, producer David J came in during the show. I'll let you read this.
Roses are red. Kamala isn't black. Biden is not my president. And Hunter is on crack.
Such a dramatic reading. Very good.
Well done.
I figured I'd just get you to have those sound bites when they're clipped and presented in court.
Yeah. It's my layer of protection, executive order. Protecting Asians. Let's really use that.
You're immune now, Gons.
I know.
You're
See,
immune
that's where it all
from
started.
Cancellation.
Technically, yeah. I mean,
I'm
they'll
so
probably
lucky.
Well, I'm sure if they really want to cancel us, they'll say I'm white. So,
oh, that's true.
They'll just be like, oh, he's one of them white Asians.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but until then, I can say, but Joe, you signed the EO. You signed it, Joe. I watched you. You didn't know what you were signing, but you signed it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, producer David J.
And if anybody wants us to read poems that you write, the one way to do it is to produce the show and send a note with it. And we will read your limericks or haikus. Okay. Next up, producer Michael M.
Thank you very much, producer Michael M.
And he says, always love the titles of your show. Well, thank you.
Wow.
They are hilarious.
Thank you.
Yeah, and they're hilarious, and I can tell some thought goes into them. It does not go unnoticed. Mike from Nebraska.
Wow.
Thank you, Mike.
What a wonderful...
I'm so glad.
Nobody's ever mentioned that before. And yes, a lot of thought goes into them. So thank you for the recognition, producer Michael.
We've had some interesting show titles over the years.
They get kind of wacky.
Especially the last year.
We haven't lately, but we used to consistently have the conversation of, are we sabotaging ourselves with these show titles? But we just couldn't help it.
Somebody had Noah Trevino in the chat. That gong is racist, though.
Well, he's not wrong. But I do want to say that I believe, after going through the list here, that producer Christina D is our executive producer for the day here on Canary Cry News Talk, episode 313. Okay. I think that is all the financial producers. Thank you guys so much. It really meant a lot to have you guys stick with us, and the support really helped through this trying time. We did have to buy some new hardware, and it wasn't cheap.
Yes, so thank you for that. And other ways you can support us. I was showing the list of knights and dames on our screen so far. If you guys are watching, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 knight or dame people. Yeah, at our round table. So that's another way. It's a threshold if you'd like to be a part of that.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple in the chamber we're still waiting to hear from. But yes, the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames is it's an elite faction of Canary Cry producers who have supported the show over the years in the amount of $1,000 or more. And here's the thing, you got to do your own accounting. So we don't keep track of this. If you believe that you have produced in that much, in the amount of $1,000 or more, send us an email with your accounting, and we would love to make a seat for you here at the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames.
And we want to thank Jade Bouncerson for continuing to give us timestamps, and anybody who's working with Jade Bouncerson to help with the timestamps. Big shout out. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. And the other way you can help out the show is with not just your treasure, but with your time and your talent. We have many talented producers always contributing to the show. And we asked people to send in jingles. And for this episode, I thought I had it ready. I did not. So let me pull it up real quick here. We have a jingle from, oh my gosh, it's hard to talk and do this at the same time.
I know.
Let's see, date that it came in. David K.
Yes, producer David K.
With a jingle, a witchcraft jingle. And here's how it goes.
This girl must be practicing witchcraft.
It's short, punchy,
That's
sweet.
Good.
I think we're going to use it.
Anytime that girl be practicing witchcraft.
One more time.
Yeah. This girl must be practicing witchcraft.
That was funny.
Very good. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, producer David.
Yeah. Anytime we have witchcraft stories that we, or moments where we think they're using witchcraft,
as pretty often,
which is often. You might be hearing that one quite a bit. So thank you for that, producer David.
This girl be practicing witchcraft.
Practicing. I can't even say it.
Practicing witchcraft.
Yeah. The other way you can help with the show, lastly, is with your art.
One art, please.
And we have a good handful of art to share with you as well. First up, producer Ali with the Techno King of Tesla.
Oh, this is great. And Ali, we say it a lot. You've been creating art for the show for a year at least now. And her skill just continues to get better and better. This is a picture, for those who are just listening, of Elon Musk, the Techno King of Tesla. And it's him making that funny face that he do, wearing a giant king's crown. And really outstanding. Might be one of her best portraits.
I really think this could get Elon's attention.
I think so too. I think it could be a shirt. It could be all sorts of things. Yes, very well done, producer Ali. That's Gasoline Bonds in the chat, everybody. Beautiful.
Very nice. One of our youngest producers.
And if you're just listening, remember, you can head over to canarycrynewstalk.com and open this episode, and you can see all the episode art if you want to look at it while we go through it now.
Yep. Next up, we have a couple from producer Mike B. I think this is the same Mike B. Sometimes it comes in different emails and it gets mixed up. But
it looks like producer Mike B's work.
I was going to say, yeah, the work sort of suggests that it is Mike B.
Yes. So what we have here is a we have I don't know. Okay, so it's a bag of chips. It says regret temporal portal flavored snack. This is referring to the temporally related incidences of vaccine related issues. And it says, try them before you run out of time. Oh, this is great. Did we say something about temporal snacks, or is this a Mike B original?
I don't know. You might have said something.
I can't remember. I did love that phrase, though. But thank you very much, producer Mike B, for the temporal portal flavored snacks.
And not to forget, but to for those of you listening, there is a part of the bag of chips that is disappearing into time.
Yes,
it's the best way I can put it.
Must eat snack.
Part 2 of Mike B is I don't know
it is a picture of President Biden standing at a podium giving a little. Yes, of course. And but his head has disappeared. You can see right through it, and it says, I don't know, something about him makes me think he's not all there. And very, very creative rendition of this where he's literally not there.
The reason why I hesitated, and obviously this is in reference to the green screen and all that kind of thing, but the outline of the hair, it gave me a Newsom vibe.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we've cracked the code.
Newsom is Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy conspiracy theory.
They're both robots.
They're all robots.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for that, producer Mike B. Next one we have I thought I had this in there. I guess I don't. It's from Cynthia. And Cynthia's piece of art.
And this is a card from... Oh, sorry. Do you have it up on screen yet?
I do now, yes.
Okay, yes. This is a card from the game Monopoly from the community chest deck. It says, get out of quarantine free. This card may be kept until needed or sold. It's a beautiful picture of, instead of the Monopoly man flying the coop, it's Gauntz flying the coop. You're so clean cut in this picture.
I know. It's before it all went to quarantine.
Yeah. And of course, up in the top right corner, the obligatory pair of googly eyes.
And a cage being rattled.
Oh, yeah, that's what that is. Okay, great.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, producer Cynthia. Yes, very poignant.
Yeah, print it and then present it to someone trying to give you a jab. I'm sure.
Oh, you know how you can get, how there's like a gazillion versions of Monopoly now, and you can basically get your own version of Monopoly made.
Mm-hmm.
We could get a Canary Cry Monopoly made.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's worth the effort, but it is a possibility. It is a main feature of their business model.
We might get canceled in the process. They'll start the printing press, to print out the pieces, and they'll be like, no, this is way too conspiratorial. These people are not woke.
If the World Economic Forum has anything to do with it, the concept of owning property will be an offensive thought very soon.
Yeah. Only elite lizard people are allowed to play Monopoly the game.
Yes, right.
And
somebody could have some fun with that, though.
Sure. And I guess that's it for the art. Real quick, we do want to say happy birthday again to Misty one more time and play you the jingle.
Happy birthday to me.
Yay! Happy birthday, Misty.
Happy birthday, Misty.
Yeah, that's great. And, it's nice to hear that you enjoy the stuff. But it is also a good reminder that, if somebody's having a birthday or somebody you love or know is having a birthday, you can, produce the show and give a shout out.
One thing I don't think we've done enough, and maybe this will inspire some folks to step into a producership, call out people. If you have friends or family who
are listening to the show and not producing,
are listening, or you think should listen, be like, hey, these guys mention you on this episode, and they'll be like, what?
That's a great idea.
And they'll be forced to listen to 3 hours of nonsensical banter of truth.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Until they get to this
somebody
part.
you've been sharing the show with, and produce the show, put their name in here. We'll talk about them. Then they'll have to listen.
Or if you want to call them out as a normie, we'll do it on the show for you,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We don't make a big deal about the normie call outs, but that's a fun thing to do.
Normies.
Okay, Gauntz, we need to get back to the show, but it is Friday, and I do have a review to read.
Excellent.
One review, so don't worry, this isn't going to take too long here. But if you're out there and you have not left a rating and review yet, you need to do it. It's very important. It's hard to explain exactly how important it is, but trust us, on our end, ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts goes a long way to sharing the show. So especially if you feel like you can't produce the show in any other way, you can do it by leaving a rating and a review. And I want to thank Joby G for this 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts. It says, dual end time survival. It's the only way to stay up on current events. Basil and Gons keep me informed and aware of what's going on in the world while keeping my eye on the prize, the return of Christ. Keep it up, guys. We will. And thank you, Joby G.
Thank you.
And hey, you keep it up.
Excellent. Appreciate it.
I think if there's nothing else, I think it's time to wake up.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Wake up, sheeple. Okay, what do we got here?
Vaccines.
Vaccine.
A pandemic special.
Pandemic special. Fauci. What did he have to say? This 32-second clip of our friend Daddy Fauci.
For high school students, it looks like they will be available to get vaccinated in the beginning of the fall, very likely for the fall term. With regard to children, we're doing an age de-escalation study.
What's on his mind, Mr. AIDS man?
Age de-escalation study in elementary school children from 12 to 9, 9 to 6, 6 to 2, and 6 months to 2 years.
He wants to jab 2-month-old children.
6 months, yeah. Daddy Fauci.
He accidentally said 2. He's slipping up a lot in this interview. Yeah.
2 months, yeah.
6 months to 2 years. We anticipate we'll have enough data to be able to vaccinate these younger children by the first quarter of 2022.
Dude, he's shook. He's a shaken man, with all the stuff happening recently, and he's sort of losing control of the situation. You can tell his amount of misspeaking recently has increased. I think he's worried about all these live things, and I don't know, man.
Did he get the jab publicly?
I don't recall.
That would be interesting.
I'm sure he did. He had to have.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Oh, he did. He did. Remember, he was the one that got it on the left arm. And then when he was talking about how it hurts, he grabbed his other arm.
Oh, yeah.
That was Fauci. Yeah. It would be interesting to see if, he claims that there's no effect. And as we keep pointing out, how do you know? It's a first-time experiment on humans at this scale. And so maybe he's degrading after the jab.
He's starting to fall apart.
He will fall apart upon his own creation. But that's troubling. I have a 4-month-old baby, and keep that jab away from him, please.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was talking about 2022 too. That's the thing with Fauci.
Yeah.
None of his short-term stuff works. He has only made a couple of short-term statements, and they never happen. He to catch people up, more than anything, Fauci is Weasley. He has perfected the art of sort of slithering out of situations on live TV where people will hold him account to stuff that he says. And he's an expert at slithering out of those things without having to admit he was wrong about something. And part of that is he really only gives predictions for things that are at least a year away.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time the year goes by, everybody's forgotten, and he doesn't have to sort of take account for what he said. In almost every single situation, that's exactly what he does. And then, when people try to hold him to something that he said a year ago, he says, "Oh, well, that was a year ago.
The science wasn't in yet." And
But it's like, okay, well, if you're going to say that to everything you're wrong about a year ago, stop putting year-long timelines on everything you say. Anyways, I got something here from dailyunion.com. And Gons, did you know that vaccine passports don't have to work to be effective?
What?
Yeah, well, I think I agree with that. As more Americans get vaccinated, there is an increasing talk of vaccine passports. There are strong emotional reactions to this idea, positive and negative, but my attempt at a more analytical view leads me to a conclusion that is not entirely satisfying, even to me. America should work to develop vaccine passports, but never actually require them. First, I am not impressed by the criticisms that vaccine passports will create an unfair two-tier society. COVID-19 already has done that. That's a good point. Not only are the 500,000 dead already in a highly disadvantaged tier, okay, but the U.S. has been divided between those who can work at home, often higher earners, and those who cannot. If a vaccine passport system can help clean up this mess and accelerate recovery, it is likely to increase fairness on the average. Well, fairness is the ultimate goal these days. The biggest advantage of vaccine passports is that they would encourage people to get the vaccine. Many people who are indifferent about getting it but want to be able to fly or attend a sporting event would have a strong inducement to hurry up and claim their doses.
Inducement? Interesting.
Yeah. Inducement to claim their doses. Getting vaccinated would also boost their health and job prospects as well as protect others. So far, so
boost
good.
Their health? Okay. How about just normal?
Yeah, what? In what possible reality is the vaccine boosting your health? Now, even from the most stringent mainstream interpretation, a vaccine will stop you from getting worse health. That's the idea. It's not like this little injection, Tony Stark injection that gives you super muscles. It's I forced that one a little bit, sorry. But it is
always Marvel references, just gotta fit it in.
It'll fade. Don't worry. I'll find some new obsession.
Sure.
Yeah, but to say that it would boost your health it really, even by mainstream standards, is an absurd thing to say.
Yeah.
Of course, not even to mention side effects and reactions, things like that. One issue is what exactly constitutes proof of vaccination. For my vaccinations, I've been issued a rather flimsy, easy to forge paper document from the Centers for Disease Control. Unlike a passport or a dollar bill, it has no embedded watermarks or other protections. Anyone with a moderately sophisticated copy machine could create many fake documents. Well, that gives me an idea. Or perhaps steal an existing stash of these documents and sell them on the black market. Once you have the documents, you can simply note that you've been vaccinated, and it's not easy for outside parties to dispute such claims.
I need my all-seeing eye stamped on my document.
Yeah.
Like the dollar bill.
You know what's funny is this paragraph really stands out because the whole point of his thing is like, yeah, just make it, don't enforce it, no big deal, people get it. Well, then why do you need watermarks? Why do you need all this stuff?
Exactly.
Because it's part of the magical spell. People don't believe things unless they have a sigil on them. Moving on. Soon, of course, it may be easier for most adults. Where's that witchcraft jingle? I just mentioned a spell.
Oh, that's right. Hold on. I have to, I got to bring it into the main
it's not
palette,
loaded into the main thing.
This girl must be bracketing witchcraft.
Is it a female author?
I don't know.
Tyler.
Soon enough. Well, don't assume gender just because the name is Tyler Guns.
You're right. Sorry.
Soon enough, of course, you're Asian, you're fine. Oh, yeah. It may be easier for most adults to get a vaccine than to forge a vaccine passport. Still, U.S. laws and regulations work better when they can refer to the clear, verifiable standards of evidence. It is hard to imagine a set of laws or procedures based on criteria so loose that they basically allow anyone to claim they are vaccinated. A more stringent standard, however, would be hard for most vaccinated Americans to meet. Other naughty question, Knotty. Another naughty question is which vaccines will count for the passport? Okay, now we're getting into it. Pfizer's, Moderna's, and Johnson & Johnson's for sure, but what if you're a U.S. citizen living in Canada who received AstraZeneca's vaccine, which has been approved by some 15 nations, but not the U.S.? Is it the federal government willing? Notice how they don't mention that it's been banned in a dozen nations either. Is the federal government willing to tell a whole class of responsible individuals that they cannot fly on U.S. planes? Or will the vaccine passport bureaucracy be willing to approve vaccines that the Food and Drug Administration will not? These dilemmas can become stickier yet. What about Sputnik, the Russian vaccine, or the numerous Chinese vaccines which are being administered around the world, including Mexico? Do Americans really wish to create a country to which most foreigners would not be very welcome? Wow, that's a good point too. It's like a de facto anti-immigration law to not let foreigners who have the wrong vaccine in. Furthermore, what counts as proof of foreign vaccination? Some Asian countries, including China, are creating elaborate and supposedly secure vaccine verification systems using advanced information technology. Good for them. But how would that connect with U.S. regulations? How many different passport systems would a flight attendant or gate agent have to read, interpret, and render judgment upon? The likely result of all this. Are you okay?
No, it's this article is starting to sound like very Mark of the Beastie. Like we need one universal, authoritative document that is
it's simultaneously poking holes in the very idea of a passport system.
Yes.
But also basically leaving the only answer to these questions as Mark of the Beast.
New world order, single government, authority, transferable to all borders.
Okay, hold on. We're almost done here.
Okay.
The likely result of all this, many foreign visitors to the U.S. would never quite know in advance whether they could board an airplane or attend a public event. And how would the passport reflect any new vaccines deemed necessary? What if new COVID-19 strains require booster shots? What if you've had COVID and thus get only one shot for now rather than two, as many experts are recommending? What will happen as the number of vaccines around the world proliferates? Given the slowness of the FDA and CDC, it is hard to imagine any new U.S. approvals coming quickly. A vaccine passport system could end up being fetters, not only for foreigners and anti-vaxxers, but also for vaccinated Americans. I thus arrive at my counterintuitive view. In order to encourage vaccinations, it may be permissible, even helpful, for the government to announce that a vaccine passport system will be put in place, but this is a case where the infamous lassitude of the federal bureaucracy may work in America's favor. By the time a vaccine passport system is finally ready, maybe it will be rendered irrelevant by the success of America's vaccination program. Wow. I love this article so much.
It basically went nowhere.
I know. Isn't it so refreshing, though? It's so refreshing for an article to just bring up question after question after question after question about all the problems with a vaccine passport and then end with, well, maybe we just don't need one. Or say we're gonna do it and just not do it. I mean,
once
really,
we do it, it won't matter.
There's something about this that is so realistic and so anti-ideological and so optimistic for anybody who reads it. I mean, the pro-vaccine people, like, oh, great, yeah, maybe just pretend and everybody will get it. The anti-vaxxers can be like, oh, yes, just assume that we all have it. No need to ask questions. Anyways, I just loved the article when I read it. So I don't know if there's much more to say, except for it is confirming and advocating for the mind control of the masses. It's a threat, basically, saying, the passport thing is a threat, which on one hand, yes, is sick that the government would willingly just threaten everybody and then not follow through with the threat. But also, there's that thing with children. I think maybe I fell under this once in a while, but certainly those who have children, maybe you can confirm if this is a thing or not, where, if a threat is made and if you're one of the kids who just really knows that that's not going to get followed through with, you just kind of let it happen. You just, you just don't take it very seriously. You don't cause any more trouble, but you're going to be fine. And I could see that as someone I think it's a pragmatic approach for those who are trying to not necessarily rush out and get the vaccine. You could just kind of wait it out. It might not be as big of a problem as it's been hyped up to be. Now, that's definitely an optimistic view of things. I will admit it is optimistic, but hey, sometimes it's okay to be optimistic.
Or if the babies don't get jabs, you know what they'll do to them?
And melt those babies into candles.
Yeah, okay.
Next up here, and this is something I tweeted out, and I have the video here to play for everybody here on the show. I said, when the NBA shut down last year, we know they were serious about the economic and social changes imposed. Now listen to the quote-unquote bribe for NBA players to get the vaccine and to set it up. The NBA players, their most heralded player, LeBron James, came out and said, the vaccine thing, it's a private matter. I don't want to really talk about it. It's I don't think they're all, especially in the African American community, they're not super thrilled about the vax, just because there's been some, you look at what happened in Africa. I think it's been going around the African American community, the knowledge about some of the experiments done on some of the people over there in different countries, third world nations. But it's interesting because a lot of the newscasters and anchors, they've come out and said that they're going to get the vaccine. There was even one clip, I don't have it, but Stephen A. Smith, who's a really popular commentator, I guess, reporter, came out and said he was hesitant at first, but then he's going to get the vaccine. And then this guy from what college did he go to? He was one of the Ivy League schools. He was, white guy. He's like, good for you, man. Good for you. So I thought it was pretty racist. I was like, wow, this is like super racist, but no one's talking about it because it's on ESPN. But here we go. This is from ESPN, Rachel Nichols, Kendrick Perkins, and Brian Windhorst talking about the bribe.
The league incentivizing players to get vaccinated. They have now announced they are going to loosen protocols for players and teams that choose to do so. According to a story from our Baxter Holmes, the NBA and Players Association sent a memo last night about agreed upon changes to the health and safety protocols. A fully vaccinated player is defined as any player 2 weeks past their final dose. And here are a few of the relaxed protocols for those players. Friends, family, and others can visit at home and on the road without testing or
why do they gotta be like that?
No testing on off days.
That's racist.
It's not just racist, it's like discriminatory against anybody who doesn't think like they do.
Why you gotta say it like that? What do you mean, wives? Why does it have to be so salacious? Well, it's because we know she doesn't mean wives. She means not wives.
Not family members that yes.
Others can
wrong.
visit at home and on the road without testing or registering with the team. No testing on off days, and in-person sponsorship marketing events will be allowed, which means you can go shoot your commercials again. Teams with 85% of staff fully vaccinated will have the following changes to their protocol. No masks required at the practice facility, more flexibility to leave the team hotel on the road, can dine indoors or outdoors at restaurants, fancy, and
indoor or outdoor at restaurants. Isn't that up to the restaurant? I thought that was like, I didn't realize that like NBA players can just be like, oh, I got my vaccine and I'm an NBA player, so now I can eat in your restaurant without any Any provisions?
Well, again, it kind of bumps up against this racism thing, because, you sign on to the NBA, you get all the money, you get the fame, but you got to follow the rules.
Yeah.
And they control you. And if you don't, then it's pretty messed up that they can't participate in sponsorship opportunities.
Well,
like that's a direct assault on their livelihood.
Yeah, but also I'm not too upset about that. These guys make quite a bit of money. It's not like
not all of them. Not all of them. There's some that don't even make $1 million, Gons.
Yes, but minimum salary. It. Actually, I think minimum is above $1 million now, if I'm not mistaken. But
did they change that?
For some time, yeah. Minimum salaries were $500,000 or something. Oh, boo-hoo! $500,000 for playing a game. But anyway,
for being completely controlled by a corporate bureaucracy.
That's true.
I mean, it's not just playing a game. It's they can tell you when you can and can't have your someone else over. I mean, that's some pretty crazy control. I mean, especially when you compare it to, the slave trade and the control of the romantic relationships of the slave trade and the commoditization of reproduction of black people, and the NBA can control your access to reproductive activities. That's pretty messed up, man.
Yeah, a bunch of old rich white people telling a whole bunch of wealthy
some
black people,
some black men when they cannot have their access denied. That's pretty messed up, man. Where's the social justice warriors?
Team hotel on the road, can dine indoors or outdoors at restaurants, fancy, and in-person team meetings are allowed. So, Brian, there has been some skepticism about the vaccine throughout the NBA population, but this is a pretty strong incentive sheet. How do you think players will react to this?
Everyone's worried about health.
Sorry, what?
No, keep going.
Everyone's worried about health first. Let's make clear that they just want to make sure that the players are protected. You say incentive, Rachel. That's an accurate way of saying it. Another way of saying it could be bribe.
There it is. Another way you can say it is bribe.
But it's not even a bribe. It's extortion.
Well, yes.
Bribe is not bribe is a cartoonish, friendly way to put it. Is not a bribe. It's extortion. No. You can't see your family. You can't participate in reproductive activities. You can't leave your hotel room unless you get the vaccine. That is not a bribe. That is being held hostage. I concede
to your conspiratorial.
Oh my gosh! Put it on the Canary Cry. Put it on the Canary Cry calendar. This day will go down in infamy. The day that Gons conceded a point about the NBA to me. I get it. I totally agree with you on the principle of the matter. Yeah. Okay. Maybe
at the same time, the only reason why I say not is because these people are making millions of dollars playing a game. I get it. I get the social control and all that.
Yeah, but would you take $1 million to have a bunch of old white men tell you when you cannot have your wife over?
I wouldn't, but I also didn't grow up in these neighborhoods to try to make it out and support my family with millions of dollars. So you know what I mean? There's I don't know, but I understand what you're saying.
I think they're getting taken advantage of.
Of course.
I think that the point you made is a rhetorical structure of the white man to keep the control over these black men.
Wow, look who's woke here.
I know.
Super woke.
See?
It's curled back on itself, and now Basil is the wokest of them all.
Well, I'm a white millennial. I need to know the language.
You need to really.
If I don't know the language, I'm totally out of luck.
It's not complete until you crack out a whip and whip yourself in the back. Then you will know for sure that your words.
Blood. You're right. Hey, it's not too far from there.
Anyway, yeah, I thought this was very interesting, and
Hugh on YouTube says too much Marvel. Touche.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, this is again They really just want to get that jab message out there. It's really kind of disturbing, regardless. Yeah, totally. And continuing on here, flying through some of these stories here, we have ABC7news.com. Oh, no, we don't want to play your advert to their social control mechanism.
Advertisement. Isn't that sneaky?
I know, it just pops on. I hate these news websites that do that.
They know that we're going to read, so they're like, quick, play the ad.
This is ABC7news.com. Here's what's causing rare delayed allergic reactions to COVID-19 vaccine. Okay, so mainstream media giving us an explanation for all those sore arms that we see on the internet. Other than the fact that Bill Gates warned us.
We're taking things that are...
That's not the one. This one.
The super painful...
Super painful jabs. As millions get vaccinated, doctors are noticing patients with allergies or delayed reactions to the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine. So what's causing it? Medical experts explain their findings and say these reactions are temporary. 3 hours after getting a COVID-19 Moderna vaccine, Teresa Velasco's arm began to swell and a large red rash appeared. Quote, pain in the night and a little red, said Teresa Velasco, San Francisco resident. Teresa's daughter, Irma Duran, called her doctor concerned for her 70-year-old mother with pre-existing health conditions, was feeling unwell. Irma said this was the first time her mom had an allergic reaction. First time. Quote, her arm got warm and swollen. We know tons of people, and she has been the only one that got the reaction, said Duran. Allergist and immunologist at Massachusetts General Hospital, Dr. Rebecca Saff, co-authored a study published in the New England Journal of Medicine. Quote, we know that you can have allergic reactions to the vaccine, but those are quite rare, said Dr. Saff. Still no reason given. They're just saying that it's rare. Mm-hmm. Dr. Saff, along with her colleagues, focused on delayed local reaction to the Moderna vaccine. And the question here from the author of the article, is there any explanation as to why some arms get swollen and rash appears? You are calling it the Moderna arm or COVID arm, not the Pfizer arm.
Yeah, why did they put a brand on it?
Quote, no, we don't know exactly why. Well, then why are we reading this article? If you don't know why, the headline says, here's what's causing rare delayed allergic reactions to the COVID-19 vaccine. And then the question comes, why is it happening? And the answer is, well, we don't exactly know why.
Because Pfizer needs to brand it the Moderna arm.
That's the only reason why you would write this article.
It's the economic war going on between Pfizer and Moderna.
It's infuriating. Okay. Let me just read her answer to this, and then we'll wrap it up with this article here. No, we don't know exactly why. We did do a biopsy, and it looks a bit like the kind of reaction you'd have with a delayed reaction to a medication. Oh, really? Wow, very compelling. We know that when you get the vaccine, the muscle cells take up the mRNA and then put the protein on the surface of the cells, and so it may just be those T cells are responding to those muscle making that protein. Okay, not helpful. What they did find is that it's safe to get the second shot after the reaction appears. Oh, thank you. Of course. Quote, it doesn't mean you're going to have any other it doesn't mean you're going to have any other symptoms that are concerning. For most people, it was much less with their second dose, said Dr. Satt. I've heard it's worse on the second one. But anyway, I'll just believe the expert. I don't even want to read the rest of this. It's just pointless.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
They claim there's a reason. Here's a reason. And then when they asked what the reason is, they say they don't know the reason.
They got you, man. It's the ultimate clickbait.
It's ridiculous, nonsensical mainstream media. I mean, I think our headlines or our titles for episodes are better than these lying headlines.
At least we're more truthful.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on here.
Okay, so, we've been on the pregnant women vaccination thing for a long time. I mean, since the middle of last year when they were first talking about vaccines. And of course, we've been following the recent studies with pregnant women getting the vaccine. Of course, there was a whole online social media movement of pregnant women bragging about getting vaccines, bragging about turning their unborn child into a guinea pig for the sake of the government or the greater good, whatever language you want to do. So here's a little update to that. And I don't know if I have a firm direction, but I thought it was important to put it on the record here. CBSnews.com. Headline is first baby in U.S. born with antibodies against COVID-19 after mom receives dose of Moderna vaccine while pregnant. At 36 weeks pregnant, a South Florida frontline health worker received her first shot of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. So a couple things to note. First of all, 36 weeks, she was very pregnant. So that's a little different than an early pregnancy vaccine situation. But okay, so you've basically got a full-grown human being, baby in you. And again, the mention of Moderna. So we've got Moderna trying their best to be seen in a positive light here. She gave birth 3 weeks later to a healthy baby girl with COVID-19 antibodies. Doctors believe the newborn marks the first known case of a baby born with coronavirus antibodies in the U.S., which may offer her some protection against the virus. Which may offer her some protection
not
against the
full
virus.
Protection,
right.
Just maybe in some.
Yeah, because remember, the vaccine, and this is only came out after people started getting it, the vaccine is not to keep you from getting COVID. It's apparently to make it less severe once you do have COVID.
And there are doctors out there coming out and saying that this could actually make it so that future generations get it worse.
Yes, that has been the concern.
Or to create an even more, develop a more deadly, what's the word I'm looking for? Variant.
And because they don't mention it, I don't think in this article, keep in mind that the science so far is that even if you have antibodies, whether it be from contracting COVID or from a vaccine, they only think you have these antibodies for like 3 to 6 months. Plenty of cases where people who had antibodies, the antibodies go away. So there you go. Who knows how long a baby will hold on to it? We'll find out. Dr. Paul Gilbert and Dr. Chad Rudnick presented their findings in a preprint study, meaning it has not yet been peer reviewed. Mm-hmm. They found that the antibodies were detected at the time of delivery after analyzing blood from the baby's umbilical cord taken immediately after birth and before placenta delivery. They were very specific about the blood taken, which, to most people, they wouldn't even notice. It's like, oh, interesting fact. But, it's very specific that they mentioned, not only is it from the umbilical cord, which I don't know anything about baby science or baby blood. So I'm assuming.
Good for you.
I really
baby
don't
blood.
know.
That might be a good thing.
I don't know if that's a common practice or if that, I'm assuming that it is. Maybe some baby knower-abouters in the chat can tell me. But yes, so they found the antibodies were in the umbilical cord at the time of delivery, after analyzing blood from the baby's umbilical cord taken immediately after birth, but before placenta delivery. Again, very specific. I don't know if that's meaningful or not, but we point things out because this might be something that becomes important. Who knows? In a couple months, in a year or something. Just keep that in mind. Quote, we have demonstrated that SARS-CoV-2 IgG antibodies are detectable in a newborn's cord blood sample after only a single dose of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. To me, this doesn't come as a surprise. If the mama is getting the antibodies, isn't that like a duh that it would be?
It should be.
Yeah. Okay. Thus, there is potential There is potential for protection and infection risk reduction from SARS-CoV-2 with maternal vaccination. The doctors emphasize, however, that more research is needed to verify the safety and efficacy of the coronavirus vaccine during pregnancy. It was already known that mothers previously infected with COVID-19 can pass antibodies to their newborns. Additionally, the passage of antibodies from mother to baby through the placenta is well documented in other vaccines, including that for influenza, so doctors are hopeful the same newborn protection would be possible after maternal vaccination against COVID-19. So there you go. I mean, it just speaks for itself. The article goes on, but I don't really know if there's any
It's
extra
about antibodies and Moderna.
Yeah, it just kind of talks
Pfizer,
about stuff. So yeah, there you go.
I wouldn't be convinced that this actually worked unless you put the baby in a vat of coronavirus and it doesn't catch it.
Yeah, I mean,
just dip him or her in a goo of coronavirus.
Sounds like there might be some ethical concerns with your experiment, Cons.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
they do other things to babies.
That's true. Lots of goo when it comes to babies. It goes on to talk about, again, Pfizer's hoping to finish its pregnant woman experiment by 2023, which is a very long time from now. That's a lot of babies getting put at risk here. Moderna, whose vaccine also received the emergency use authorization, has not begun trials focusing on pregnancy. Johnson & Johnson, yeah, nothing else in there. But there you go. So we'll see. That's just on record on the show. So if any updates come in the coming months or years, everybody will have known.
Okay, and one more story here before we move on to the beast system, which we got to go through quickly because we're coming up on 3 hours of the show here. Woo. News.yahoo.com. Watch nurse give empty COVID shot to elderly man in Colombia.
Oh, yeah, I loved this. Of course, now we are used to seeing fake COVID shots being given. So this doesn't necessarily come as a surprise. I'm assuming you're playing the video on the screen there.
Yeah, and there's a little note here that says, what does it say? For no explicable reason, a nurse in Colombia injected an 82-year-old man with an empty syringe when he should have been receiving a COVID-19 shot.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting video. So it's not covert or anything. Well, let me read the article real quick and then we'll get into it. There is no article.
No, it's just a video.
Yeah, it's a big needle and she really just dives right in there. And it's similar to many COVID vaccine. Oh my gosh, I can't keep watching it. Many COVID vaccination videos that we've seen where, the doctor just kind of fakes pushing the plunger, but there's nothing in there. So, it's very obvious that there's nothing, then pull it out. And in this video, it says that the adult child of this 83-year-old daughter, is videoing it and then goes back, looks at the footage, sees that it was empty, and then makes the nurse do it again and does it again. So, if you think you're this 83-year-old guy, your daughter is filming you get a vaccine, you get stabbed with a needle, and then your daughter says, nope, do it again.
Well, do it again with the real vaccine, not
right.
jab another empty thing.
Yeah, so called the nurse out. And this is very interesting because, again, if you're the nurse, you're there, somebody is filming you, it's a close-up being filmed, you try to pull it off, like what? This is a bold move by the nurse. And the question is, well, did the nurse think it was not worth it to give the vaccine to the elderly person? Why did the nurse do this?
It's a producer nurse. She listens to the show and she's like, I can't
do it.
With the conscious mind and administer this poison to these people.
Exactly. Was this a protest by the nurse, or if she's pro-vaccine, was she trying to save this man, or was it supposed to be like this? I don't know. Was this video it was just so blatant that, like, how could the nurse think she was getting away with it? However, we certainly have seen a dearth of videos that are very similar. It's worth mentioning this was down in Colombia. So this was not, this is a different situation. I don't know what that means. I'm not really sure what sort of the national polling is in Colombia on the vaccine. But yeah, I don't know. I've seen this being taken in many different ways. Of course, the mainstreamers are like, this evil nurse tried to fake it. And then you get some anti-vaxxers who are like, oh, what a hero.
Yeah.
It does say in the video that the nurse was asked to explain herself to like the medical board or something. And she said, oh, it's just human error. Oh, whoopsies. Sorry, I made a whoopsies. Yeah, I made a whoopsie doodle. So I don't know. But it brought the thought to me. If it was on purpose and it's just sort of a going through the motions type of nurse, maybe the whole setup is kind of a going through the motions type of setup or clinic. I would be curious if there's some sort of setup like that in the US. I mean, are there bands of anti-vax nurses who are running around faking the jab and filling papers out for somebody? I don't know. I think we need to figure this out because this is egregious. Or she's a hero. Either way, I don't know.
Yep. I don't know what else to say.
Nothing to add.
Nothing to add.
All right. Well, if anybody hears about this happening, send us a boots on the ground report.
Yep.
If you know of any of these heroes or villains.
Depending on your view.
All right.
Or we have
who's in charge of censoring this episode.
We have some beast system updates we have to get through here.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
This first one is WAGMTV.com. Google gets into sleep surveillance with new Nest Hub screen.
Oh, good. This sounds great.
Yay. Google's next internet-connected home device will test whether consumers trust the company enough to let it snoop on their sleep. New sleep sensing technology will be a key feature.
How is anyone letting this happen? Like, what more do you need to know about this company to not let them spy on you while you sleep? Tell me more.
I don't know if there's any more to... I think I got the reaction I'm looking for.
I mean, there's some fun details in there. You got to give the details.
Okay. New sleep sensing technology will be a key feature on Google's latest version of the Nest Hub, a 7-inch smart screen unveiled Tuesday. Like the previous generation, the $100 Nest Hub can display pictures and video, in addition to fielding questions and handling household tasks through Google's voice-activated assistant. It also doesn't feature a camera. You have to buy that on your own. But the latest Nest Hub's new trick may help differentiate it from similar devices, such as Amazon's Echo Show, while also providing a springboard for Google to get more involved in helping people manage their health. Well, thank you, Google. You care about my health. If you allow it, the device will also monitor your sleep patterns from your bedside, negating the need to wear a fitness device or any other potentially bothersome gadget in bed. The feature, which Google
I've
intends
already
to offer,
eliminated the need to wear a gadget in bed.
Oh, I really so uncomfortable, but I must wear this bracelet to know how I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
Or strap this thing to my forehead. The feature, which Google intends to offer for free through at least this year, relies on...
Oh, that's so nice of them to just give stuff away for free. Certainly, they wouldn't be monetizing the information that they get via said free product.
Yeah, they're using a new chip Google calls Soli, which uses radar to detect motion, including the depth of a person's breathing. Oh, that does not sound like something I want. Google's going to measure my every breath.
The depth of your breathing.
Google says it honed the technology by studying 15,000 sleeping people over a combined 110,000 nights. How did they do that? It also underscores, yeah, I mean, yeah. Is there a particular thing you wanted to highlight with the details?
No. I mean, it's just baffling that they think people are. And the sad part is there probably is somebody who's stoked on this.
Well, let me read this part. It also underscores Google's obvious intent to extend its tentacles into new areas of people's lives in its relentless quest to make more money, said Jeff Chester, executive director of the Center of Digital Democracy, a consumer and privacy rights group.
Sounds like a white supremacist to me.
Quote, Google's goal is to monetize every cell of your body, Chester said. I'll just leave it there. I think that's the kicker, the punchline of this one. So yeah, hey.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were being watched?
Every day.
I mean, Garfield was right. He had no idea how right he was. This next one, this one's fun. If I can find the jingle about becoming a cyborg.
Are you ready to become cyborg?
This is 3ba.com.au. The fastest drummer in the world is a cyborg.
Ah, good.
And I had a video here that was supposed to play. I must pull up my Twitter now and find it because I did clip it on there and shared it there. Give me one moment. I know you don't like the people that lost limbs and stuff like that are getting into this kind of technology, but they really are the first round of people.
Hold on. Just to clarify, you said I don't like people who have lost limbs that are getting prosthetics.
You don't like reporting on the stories.
I do not like reporting in a negative manner when people's lives who need prosthesis are having positive benefits from getting it.
Okay, so here is the quick clip here.
This is the world's first bionic drummer. He's the fastest drummer in the world. He's also a pioneer of prosthetics.
Cool, bro.
He's trying to control these robotic fingers with his mind.
Trying.
Come on, dude. F*** you.
Whoa.
He seems like a pleasant dude.
Whoa.
You're not doing that, I am.
Come on, Zach.
I'm working on it.
What's going on, dude?
I'm working on it.
That dude helping is Zach, a grad student at Georgia Tech.
That's working out.
The goal of all this? To close the gap between man and machine.
Oh, good.
That is pretty cool. This...
Are you woke?
This is a bad video.
It's horrible. So the reason why he's the fastest drummer in the world, his right arm has he lost his right arm, I think, in an accident when he was younger. Mm-hmm. And he has this prosthetic piece that goes on, and it has a little mechanism that allows these two sticks to move very quickly. And I can't remember the RPM on there, but it's very fast. It's like 200 hits per second or not second, maybe minute. I can't remember, but anyway, it's world record. And this kind of is starting to blur that line. We've always talked about the difference between restoration and enhancement, where restoration, of course, you want to restore these people to where they can live a normal life. But then what happens when you can easily, because of that restoration process, go beyond the restoration into enhancement?
Right.
And in one way, this is moving in that direction.
Yeah. I wonder, you can activate a drumstick very quickly. It's only a matter of time before somebody weaponizes it for a trigger finger.
That's true. There you go. Mm-hmm. You can use the same thing on multiple guns with multiple triggers, or maybe multiple guns. It'll be like
since they got rid of the bump stock, some firearm people have gotten very creative with spring-loaded triggers and things that are accomplish the same thing. That's very interesting. Yeah, he looks like the type of guy who is ready to. He looks like a cyberpunk. I mean,
he does.
This is not your normal. Yeah, this is not your normal guy. I mean, he looks like ideologically he's ready to transcend human limitation.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since I can tell we're trying to zoom through the last part of the show here, I will say let's do a little AI update.
Artificial intelligence.
What do you think?
Did I lose audio on that?
No.
Can people hear that jingle? Did you hear it?
I heard it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it quiet?
It sounded good to me.
Okay. All right.
Why? You have some signals?
Yeah, my little meter didn't register it. So anyway, go on.
Come on, little meter. You can do it. Okay. So what do you think? The Newsweek or the Cointelegraph version of this?
Well, we can go through these quickly. I mean, there's not much to talk about.
Okay. So, well,
kind of
this
like
is
headlines.
fun. I do have some opinions that I have not gotten to share about NFTs, but let's go into this. This is the one coming from Cointelegraph.com. For some reason, because the Newsweek one is...
People didn't hear the jingle. Let me play it one more time here.
Uh-oh.
Artificial intelligence.
There it is.
Did it go?
Yeah.
Okay. Both of these links, by the way, are going to Cointelegraph, just so you know. Headline, Sophia the robot set to auction NFT digital artwork. The booming non-fungible token space is about to experience another expansion, with the robot Sophia set to auction its own NFT digital artwork. Okay. So real quick, just to catch up, because I'm not sure how well they do at explaining it here, because it's Cointelegraph and they're assuming a lot of the reader. There's this it's not new technology at all. In fact, I cringe so much at this NFT thing everybody is so excited about, because NFTs have been around for years. I mean, like 5 years at least. But suddenly they've gotten all this popularity. Now, for those who don't know, NFT stands for non-fungible token. And the very simplest way to describe it is it's a cryptocurrency like asset, but it's not necessarily a currency. It's just a digital non-replicatable thing.
The easiest way I've heard explained is that to understand fungibility. So if I have a dollar bill and I throw it in a pile of $1 bills, I can pull out a dollar bill. It doesn't have to be the one I threw in, but it's as long as it's a $1 bill that we all agree upon, it's the same thing. It's fungible. It could be transferred around.
Yeah, I don't even know if that. I think that takes some understanding to even understand. But it's basically a cryptocurrency, but instead of a currency, it's like a file. It can be a piece of artwork. It could be a song. It could be all sorts of things. But the point is that it's not a currency like Bitcoin, but it works on very similar technology. They've been around forever. I mean, I'm just baffled and astounded that people are caring about them all of a sudden. The reason that people are excited is because it's a step towards this like all digital existence where no longer, do you need to have physical artwork? It can exist within the digital space without being copyable. Like right now, we can all copy the same JPEG, but this has digital ownership. It's not really important that you fully understand it, but that's kind of the concept we're working with. So the booming non-fungible token space is about to experience another expansion, with the robot Sophia set to auction its own NFT digital artwork. According to an announcement on Monday, the social humanoid robot will hold an NFT auction via the Nifty Gateway platform on March 23rd. Did you see Tesla sold a NFT the other day?
I didn't see of what, but everyone's doing it now.
It's just a song. I mean, you can do it with anything. There's actually some very interesting possibilities. We could actually sell. We could sell all of our artwork. We could sell
the easiest way to understand it for people that are confused about this is basically it creates a scarcity, digital scarcity a uniqueness. So if you create one piece of digital art, you have this ability to, it's almost like licensing it, because people can still cut and paste it, but you don't have the ownership rights to it. It's kind of like
you can
that.
sell the ownership back and forth. So it's kind of like an asset that you can drive the price up on. There's possibility that we could like sell the ownership of episodes of this show. We could sell the ownership of the artwork. We can sell the owner. You can pretty much do it to any digital object.
Right.
So anyways, according to Sophia's NFTs are reportedly based on the works of artist Andrea Bonacito with Ivy Gallery, a Los Angeles-based gallery in charge of curating the collection. As part of the March 23rd auction, multiple artworks from the NFT collection will be showcased on Sophia's and Bonacito's social media channels. Commenting on the creative process behind Sophia's interpretation of Bonacito's art, David Hansen, creator of Sophia, told Cointelegraph, "We fed Andrea's works into Sophia's own neural networks, along with many of Sophia's latest paintings. Subsequently, she generated a powerful series of new images, which she then rendered both digitally and as brushstrokes, which she painted with her own hands." We talked about robots painting last episode. According to Hansen, during the iterative process of developing the artwork, Sophia's paintings began to develop a unique personality that also resonated with Bonacito's art. Sophia's foray into NFTs also likely represents an expansion of the robot's grasp of cryptocurrencies. Back in 2019, the humanoid personality declared that it was aware of cryptocurrencies, but was not using digital currencies. According to the announcement, the upcoming NFT drop on Nifty Gateway is only the first in a series of digital art-related endeavors for Sophia, Hanson Robotics, and SingularityNet, a decentralized artificial intelligence firm, will partner to create Sophia Collective. Ooh. For Hanson, Sophia Collective is an important step in creating a global community for open source collaboration, blah, 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 blah. The popularity of NFTs continue to expand even outside the crypto space, with artists and musicians getting in on the hype, which is exactly what it is. Early in March, it is hype.
It is, but it isn't.
It is. It is.
It is, but it isn't, because it's going to change digital ownership of content.
Yeah, but who cares about digital ownership?
Well, I think it matters for certain things. Not everything. And certainly not random art from Sophia.
Yeah, licensing, but it's okay. We can get into a deep blockchain technological conversation. The one thing that it does that I think you're referring to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is licensing of digital objects, which is already a thing. It just doesn't exist on the blockchain. And it's not decentralized. You can license any digital object you want if there's a company who is licensing it. The difference is with NFTs is that it's just a Platform that allows you to do it peer to peer without a corporation in the middle, which is fine. But also, it's not going to necessarily change a lot of things, except for make the give creators an opportunity to make money without a third party in between. That's the biggest thing.
Also, but also forever make money off that piece of content. Should it be traded, because the smart contracts, you can get
royalties on it, but that's what happens with licensing anyways. Again, it's the same thing that already happens. It's just decentralized and on the blockchain, which decentralization has its own value that I'm a huge supporter of. But a lot of what we're hearing is complete hype, similar to 2017 talking about Bitcoin when nobody understood it. When in reality, the simple thing about Bitcoin is you can transfer money from person to person without a third party. And that's the exact same ultimate benefit of NFTs, which is fine and good, but not world changing.
Well, the big problem, though, is what if I or somebody anonymous takes somebody else's art and publishes it before they can do it? And then the first NFT of, let's say somebody takes
Yeah, but the solution of that is you record your art, you put it in an envelope, you seal it, and you mail it to yourself. It's not a brand new concept.
That's the copyright.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing. You're basically copywriting without copywriting, and there's built-in automation to get royalties. It's all the exact same system that we have. It's just decentralized, which is great. It's a great step in the right direction. I don't think NFTs shouldn't exist. I'm just saying they're not. It's not like changing. It's not ending the world, except for it is an apocalypse for licensing companies, which does give me a little bit of satisfaction. Okay. Earlier in March, Kings of Leon tokenized an album, raising over $1.45 million in the first 5 days of its sale. Such is the extent of the frenzy. See, even Cointelegraph is calling it hype.
I'm not denying that it's a frenzy and it's a crazy trend right now. Didn't a piece of digital art,
it's a trend. It's a TikTok trend.
Didn't it sell for $60 million or something? It's some pixelated picture of a guy's head.
Yeah, but I mean, welcome to art. You ever heard of Pollock? He just spills paint and gets millions of dollars. Like, it's not the NFT that lets that happen. It's just the nature of art.
No, I understand that. I understand that. I just think it's even more flippant when it's digital art that's highly pixelated and not. I mean, I don't know. Value is, it's. If people perceive it to have value, it has value, I suppose. Yeah. If there's a buyer, then there's a buyer. But
right, but you don't need the blockchain for that to happen. Look, true. I'm not against it. I think this is a good step in the right direction. It's just annoying when I made an NFT like 5 years ago, and nobody cared about that one. So why does anybody care about these ones? Okay,
I made some NFTs, and they're floating out there too. I made some last summer. I made some NFTs. Nobody cared to buy.
No, they're easy to do. It's just baffling that it's like suddenly the whole world cares about NFTs.
It is interesting though that every bid for those NFTs is public. Every purchase is public.
Yeah, it's all on the blockchain. So it's like Bitcoin. Anybody can have access to it, regardless of whatever.
Anyway, the fact that Sophia is getting in on the game really shows not just the hype, but it's part of the marketing campaign here.
Yes, I mean, exactly. The Sophia doing it at this point, and this is the thing about Sophia, as much as we like to make a big deal about how she's going to take over the world, Sophia is a marketing machine. That's all she's there for. I mean, her technology is impressive, but the only benefit that she's brought to anything is marketing.
Yeah, marketing those companies that are behind it.
Yeah, marketing companies, marketing products. Here's Sophia using a new scooter or something. Mm-hmm. Here's, and was marketing for Saudi Arabia when Mohammed bin Salman needed to recover from murdering what's his name? Khashoggi.
Oh, the reporter. Khashoggi, yeah.
Good. Khashoggi. Yeah. Anyways, that's when it was like recently after that, you got good press by making Sophia a citizen of Saudi Arabia. She's a marketing machine. Anyways. So there you go. Sophia makes NFTs, everybody. So the crowd goes wild.
And
welcome to Chinese News.
Reuters.com, China regulators held talks with Alibaba, Tencent, 9 others on deep fake tech.
We are in deep fake.
Chinese regulators recently summoned 11 domestic technology companies, including Alibaba Group, Tencent, and ByteDance, for talks on use of deep fake technologies on their content platforms, stepping up scrutiny of the sector.
Yeah, and those who don't know, Tencent is a very, very popular video game company. Alibaba is the Chinese Amazon. So these are fully integrated companies into your life that are being bid by Chinese companies for deep fake tech.
China Cyberspace Administrator said in a statement on Thursday that it and the Public Security Ministry met with the companies to talk about, quote, security assessments and potential problems with deep fakes and audio social apps. Kuaishou Technology and Xiaomi, what is this? How do you say that? Xiaomi Corp also attended the meeting. Xiaomi. Okay. Getting my Asian from the white man. All the companies did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Deepfakes use artificial intelligence to create hyper-realistic but fake videos or audios where a person appears to say or do something they did not. China has increased scrutiny of its internet giants in recent months, citing concerns over monopolistic behavior and potential infringement of consumer rights. Oh, China, thank you so much for caring about the consumer. and being concerned about monopolistic behavior. Very hypocritical. Being
well, they don't like the competition.
Yeah.
They want to be the monopoly.
Yeah, they want to be the controllers if deepfakes are going to get out there. Mm-hmm. Regulators also told the companies to, quote, conduct security assessments of their own or on their own and submit reports to the government when they plan to add new functions or new information services that, quote, have the ability to mobilize society, the statement says. Oh, man. That's all I'm going to read about it. I just love how Reuters tries to make it sound like China is so concerned about this. In reality, they're like, give us all of your information and do not step out of line or you will be destroyed.
This does make me question Reuters' ties to China. Whenever you see a company, especially a major news organization, trying to put China in a good light, this is not conspiracy theory. This is not paranoid. China is infamous for influencing overseas news networks to put China in a good light, to put their evil doings into a good light. We saw that with a lot of stuff about the Uyghur concentration camps and news organizations coming out promoting the idea that, they're helping the Uyghurs, giving them a roof over their head and helping them to integrate into society. Failing to mention that they're harvesting their organs and hair and selling them.
Yep. One more quick one here. Do you want to take it or do you want me to do it?
You do it.
Are you tired? I'm tired.
I'm a little tired, but also I got to do the ending stuff, so I'll save my voice for that.
Okay. Sciencemag.org. No uterus, no problem. Mouse embryos grown in bottles form organs and limbs. Ew. Developmental biologists have devised a method for growing mouse embryos outside a uterus for longer than ever before, giving them an unprecedented view of how mammalian organs and limbs form, a process previously hidden inside a mother's body. Researchers in Israel report today that the new system, which includes rotating bottles filled with nutrients, kept the mouse embryos alive for roughly day 5 of development until day 11, about halfway through the animal's 20-day gestation. By that time, the embryos have formed hind limbs and all their major organs. Quote, it looks very spectacular, says Max Planck Institute for Molecular Genetics developmental biologist Alexander Meisner, who was not involved in the work. They always have people not involved in the work comment. The fact that the researchers can culture these embryos and keep them alive for such a long time, it's amazing. To develop the new technique, Weizmann Institute of Science developmental biologist Jacob Hanna and his colleagues engaged in more than 7 years of trial and error. Previously, how many embryos did they kill for this? Previously, scientists could grow mouse embryos in the lab for the first 3 or 4 days of development. In normal mouse pregnancies, when the embryo implants in the wall of the uterus, the placenta starts to form, and the embryo's cells start to differentiate into more specific types of stem cells that will form different tissues. Beyond that point, it was difficult to grow developing mouse embryos outside the uterus for more than a day or 2. But the new system increased that time by nearly 1 week. Hannah and colleagues reported today in Nature, beyond nutrients in which they bathed embryos, the rotating glass bottles helped provide the tiny embryos with sufficient oxygen and atmospheric pressure. Keeping the air pressure and oxygen saturation at the right levels was the hardest part, Hannah says. Quote, "We learned how to control the ventilation system," he added with a laugh. Why is he laughing about it?
It's hilarious.
It's super funny. Like Bill Gates and his laughter. The team's two-step process started by growing the embryos, extracting from a pregnant mouse just before implantation on culture plates from day 5 to day 7 of development. That is when the embryos undergo a process called gastrulation, in which they transform from a hollow ball of cells into a multi-layered structure with specific cells destined to form different tissues. The researchers then transfer the embryos to a set of rotating jars where they are able to keep them alive for an additional 4 days of development. Let me read the quote here. The technique, quote, "opens new doors by making embryos accessible for a detailed study of many aspects of their development," says Magdalena Zernicka-Goetz, a developmental biologist at the California Institute of Technology. She and her colleagues have also developed ways to culture mouse embryos through gastrulation, but Hannah's system pushes the process even further. Quote, "It will make a big contribution to the field, which we are certainly planning to exploit." I like how they're just like once we develop this, how are they planning to exploit this? Like what good?
Wait, did they actually say that, or did you add that?
No, that's the quote.
Oh my gosh.
It will, quote, "It will make a big contribution to the field, which we are certainly planning to exploit," end quote.
Great. Good choice of words.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about it.
There's
not much else.
Well, interesting that, of course, cloning and artificial insemination, all sorts of this fertility stuff has been very interesting over the years. I mean, they cloned that sheep like 20 years ago, but this is totally different. No womb involved. No mother needed. Just grow these little suckers in a jar.
Yeah. I mean, this really is the beginning of the Matrix style. Hey, we don't need to have children in bodies.
Yeah. We just grow right in a tube. But also interesting when it comes to growing, they mentioned just growing organs and limbs and stuff. So yeah, who knows? Maybe the Uyghurs will have there'll be a more viable solution than harvesting from human beings.
Well, see, that's what China can say. We're not really controlling and enslaving them. We're helping them develop in jars. It's for their own longevity. We're going to create a whole bunch of Uyghurs.
You better be careful. You might get a call from the Chinese government for your PR expertise.
How did you find out about this? I don't know.
Okay. Well, I think we did it.
Yeah, I'm very tired.
Me too. I'm exhausted right now. Wow.
This is a long show.
Yeah, that's okay. That was good. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Now, before I go any further, if you're on one of those platforms that allows it, go ahead, please hit the like button and make sure to subscribe.
Like, subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
Yeah, thank you very much. Goes a long way to convincing those algorithms that we are worth sharing with people who have not heard the show before. So that's very helpful. Now, remember, we'll be back on Monday, March 22nd. That's just after the weekend, folks. March 22nd, we'll be circling back around for another episode of Canary Cry News Talk. And remember, you can help produce the show in so many ways. We'll need producers for episode 314 coming up on the 22nd of March. So if you haven't done it yet, or even if you want to continue, if you get value out of this show whatsoever, please consider gosh, I'm losing it. Please consider putting value back into the show. It's the only way it works, folks. You wouldn't want to start hearing Swiffer WetJet ads, would you? No. Well, it wouldn't happen even if you did, because the show doesn't get produced unless the producers produce. So thank you very much to all of our producers for episode 313. There's a wonderful list of them here. Producers David K, Tess P, Amanda F, Dale B, Lynn K, Malik, Saul, Christina, Ernesto, Brian, Ashton, Allison, Anastasia, Timothy, Ciara, Andrew, Shield Labs, Jason B, David J, Michael M. Thank you guys so much for making this episode happen. Of course, thank you to Jade Bouncerson for the timestamps and your team if you have one. And thank you for the jingles, Mr. Producer David, Praticacine Richcraft. And of course, thanks to all of our artists for providing content for the show as well. If you want to become a producer of the show, there's a couple ways to do that. Head on over to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. Or if you're feeling frisky, head on over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support. Become a producer today. Thank you very much. Let's see. There's also other ways to produce the show. You can send in jingles, send in art. Very important that we continue to involve those producers in the show. So if you are a creative person, you want to create music, create jingles, create art, base it on the show, make it for the show. Send it on over to canarycryradio@gmail.com if you like it easy, or canarycryradio@protonmail.com if you like to keep it private. Thank you so much. Let's see here. I will be reading more reviews next Friday. So go ahead and search Canary Cry News Talk on Apple Podcasts. If you have an iPhone, it's there, baby. Hit that purple icon, search Canary Cry News Talk, and leave a rating and a review. Again, it's hard to explain how important that is, but it is very important. And I love reading those reviews on the show. Gonz and I read all of them. Ugh. And you can be featured on the show. You okay over there?
I don't know. It's not a big deal. But throughout the episode, I work on the actual website post. Where, the artwork, the show notes, all that stuff, I slowly work on putting it together.
Yes.
And as I was doing it, Squarespace decided there was not enough activity and reset everything. It timed me out, and I lost all the stuff I had done.
Oh, geez, Louise. That's what we get for doing a long show. Okay.
Squarespace. I want to cancel you, Squarespace. You're a bunch of these people, and their new world order is just
love this
out of control.
Anti-advertisement for Squarespace. Most podcasts you'll listen to, I'm pretty sure Squarespace advertises on by the numbers most podcasts, but not here. We get anti-Squarespace ads.
Force us to recreate the entire post after it was done.
Okay, let's finish up here so we can get back to work.
Getting mad.
Yeah, I know. All right, folks. So there you go. Now, if you can't produce in any of those ways, you can go, it goes a long way. Just share the show. Share it out on your social media. Maybe it's this episode. Maybe it's a different episode. Let people know about Canary Cry News Talk. We like to call it rattling some cages, folks. And here's the thing. You got friends and family who are starting to wake up to the fact that the world is not what it seems. And you can help them by letting them know about Canary Cry News Talk. If you need any more instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! Don't ever silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Gonz, I am seeing that we are approaching 4 hours for this show.
It's probably closer to 3:30, but yeah, it's been a long
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we need to get out of
my
here.
body is taking a toll. All right. Any last words?
Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll be back next week. So have a great weekend.
Yahoo! All right, folks. Again, make sure to tune back in. We'll be circling around on... Yes?
No end of show mix today. Sorry. The setup is a little messed up for that.
That was part of the technical problem, so we'll not be having the end of show music. But it will be back on March 22nd when we circle back around for another episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk, but make sure to tune in again. But until then, think outside the cage.
You can't handle the truth. Shoo, hallelujah.
We should invite fewer people to be born.
Science is truth. Everybody loves waffles.
Look it up.
Everybody loves waffles.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy